What's up, everyone? I'm back with you again with another episode of the Keep Going podcast. Today, I've got an awesome guest. Her name is Miss Jonae. She is a local real estate agent in the Oklahoma City area, as well as a holistic healer, a great person, and just a wealth of knowledge. Today, we'll get to pick her brain a little bit on her real estate journey, as well as other aspects of her life, and I think you'll enjoy the show. As always, keep going. Yeah, my friend that came by the other day, he was talking about how unexpected it was because I am real talkative one-on-one, but not in a group setting. Mm-hmm. So this is like big group setting, right? Depending on who listens to it and stuff, but
for sure. But it's still a one-on-one, but you can put it out. I like that.
I think it's kind of cool for me too. I always talk about, I'm obviously not going to listen to him now, but 10 or 20 years from now, that'll be kind of cool.
Exactly.
It'll be like, no, look, this is exactly what I was on at this period. Because I've noticed that you talk, similar experiences. Yeah. Like you're going to relate to something similar that's going on. So I think that'll be cool to see the
growth. The growth, from it. Absolutely. I think that's like our new form of time capsules. Just capturing things on recording or something like that for now, for us.
Well, I've even started recording my grandpa, who hates getting recorded. But every once in a while, I'll turn a mic on just when he's in story mode. Yeah. And he said he would do one. Okay, maybe. He was kind of hesitant. So we'll see. Still, but
excuse me.
I guess I'm lying. He didn't give me a full answer, but he didn't say no. So I took it as like he might do it.
Okay, right.
Like, all
We're
right.
open to it.
Mm-hmm. But it's been fun. And
absolutely.
Like I said, I wanted to interview people like yourself because you do so much on various levels of the business.
Yeah, for sure.
Real estate wise, how long you think now?
As far as how long I'm gonna be in it?
No, you've been in it for now.
Got you. 3.5 years.
That's a good amount of time.
Yep.
So licensed that whole time? Mm-hmm. Is that how you started? Was Realtor?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes, sir. As far as like working as like an assistant or something like that. Yeah.
Just real estate in general?
Mm-hmm. My mom, she's been in real estate for 20 plus years.
So it's in the family?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, that's how she paid for us to go to college.
That's cool.
And so like when I didn't know until after, and I was like, oh, shoot.
Where'd you go to college?
OU.
Oh, cool.
And there was 3 of us in college at one time.
That's expensive.
Say that again. And we all went to big universities. So to know that that's how she supported us, that's really dope, honestly. And it made sense. I'm like, okay, because I came from bartending.
Okay.
I was serving through school and stuff like that, of course, to make money. But
it's quicker money.
Exactly. Yeah. You talking about real estate or bartending? Heck yeah.
Well, real estate beats bartending, but at the time, bartending is beating most regular jobs.
I'm talking $700-800 a week, and I worked at like a high-end restaurant, so I was making decent money. So when I left school, I really didn't have too much of a plan. And one day she was like, "You should do real estate."
So she waited until you were grown to kind of push it? Mm-hmm.
Now, when we grew up, we would always help her because she has also rental properties on the northeast side of Oklahoma City.
So you were already bred for it?
We didn't know, but I was just in it, just normal. We were cleaning houses, painting houses for like her Section 8 appointments. I'm like, wait a minute. So this is how you were supporting us this entire time? Because she was a single mom until I was about 3 or 4. And then my stepdad came, so.
Cool.
Yeah, she was hustler.
And she just started real estate just because, or there was someone that pushed her?
She started as a mortgage broker, and someone told her you can make more money on the real estate side. So or the selling side, listing side. So she switched over.
You said 20 or 30 years?
20 years.
That's crazy.
20 years.
Is she one of the cool ones? Does she still do it?
Oh, yeah.
So is she one of the cool ones?
We call her Sweatsuit Sally. So she just shows, I doubt you would meet her. She always has like the most randomest clients.
Well, yeah, it's referral based.
There you go.
All the way now.
Heck yeah. Because I asked her, I was like, what's your lead system? She was like, my what? I said, oh, excuse me. That's more new school.
Oh,
she just gets phone calls every day. Hey, we got a new one. I'm like, dang. So, yeah.
Well, I've got a mentor in the space, and he is just on the realtor side. Yeah. But that's how all of his is referral based. So he'll get a handful of referrals, then work through them, then move on, then work through them, then move on.
That sounds just like her.
So my aunt's the same way. She is from Maui.
Oh.
Yeah. And her husband has a lot of different businesses. I wouldn't know specific, but I think he's developed areas for businesses or warehouses, other bigger things than I was paying attention to. But a lot of hers was referrals through him. And then once she got solidified just in the market now, just referral based. They're about to move now, but all hers was referral.
Yeah.
So she was similar.
Yeah. And that's what I figured out. I was like, okay, it's a longevity game. It's not just first few years. Okay, now I'm getting referrals. No, you 10, maybe 5, 10, and then once.
It's kind of crazy how long it takes. I know. Especially around our age group. I didn't help a friend even when I was in new home sales for a few years because I'm coming up on year 8-ish or so.
Got you.
Started new home sales, and then on the realtor side, it's been 4 years.
Okay.
But
excuse me.
Friends on the realtor side, like helping sell their house or buy their house, just happened within the last 2 years.
I believe you. Yeah.
So it's kind of,
yeah.
It's tough. Do you deal with a lot of referrals now or not just yet?
Referrals from my office as far as like our lead system, and then like, of course, my broker.
That's cool.
But besides that, not right now. I had 2.
And that's Thunder Team?
Okay. Thunder Team.
You have a cool lady there.
Heck
wait.
Yeah. You know
I know your mom.
Oh, my mom?
Tracy.
Shut up.
That's duh. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't.
That. Thank you.
Yeah, you're fine.
What?
I forgot. Yes.
Shut up.
Yeah.
No, she remembers people a lot, so I'm gonna have to bring you up.
Well, just bring up Chickasha property.
Okay.
I'll give you the address, but
I got you.
I totally forgot because your last name's Ruffin, right?
Ruffin, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, she is the one that runs the Thunder Team.
Aisha.
Aisha does.
Yes.
She's the broker. Tracy's name is the one I would see on a lot of online like listings.
Got you. Yeah, she's
especially on the east side.
Heavy, yeah.
And she actually bought one of our flips in Chickasha.
Okay.
And she was really cool.
Crazy.
And I remember making the connection then and telling her.
Yeah.
But I forgot until just now.
I hear you.
Where I was like, oh yeah, because I remember
don't see us together. Yeah, yeah. And I think back then it would have been hyphenated. So
it was hyphenated.
That is so funny.
That's funny.
Yeah, but she had her own mortgage company / real estate office on the east side 8 years ago, 10 years ago. It was before the 08 crash, right after the 08 crash. And she had it for maybe like 5-6 years. So we would grow up just working on vows and seeing all the realtor shit in our office. We didn't realize she was running the whole company.
When you do your referrals from the company, are they like cold leads? Are they people looking to buy?
Mostly warm.
Okay.
Now we do work with a system that we've been having some terrible luck on it. I'm like, dang, but we finally got like a new lead system that's been bringing more promising warm leads and stuff like that.
How do you feel you do on converting those? Pretty easy?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because I already feel it.
Most people come in with the same issues or plan, like needing a plan and stuff like that. So we have lenders that we partner with that they can give you a straight plan, talk to you, know your situation. All right, here's your plan, and then we're kind of just checking in.
Who do you like to use?
I use Kenyatta with PRMG. Okay, yeah, I was like, make sure I said that right. And then Jenny Kennicott, she's actually based in Utah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we had a lead come in through her, and ever since we've been using her.
Wow.
Yeah, she's dope.
So how's she do with the connections virtually? Really good?
Oh, really good.
That's
really
awesome.
Good. She'll hold your hand like the entire way.
Even your older clients are okay with it?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
awesome.
Yes. I actually have some older clients right now working on getting I think like a Cherokee, basically like a tribe loan, and she's working with them.
Where are you looking for them at?
Mostly Edmond is what they're wanting to be in. They're an older couple, and they're wanting space for their grandkids. So
when you're helping them the first time you meet them, is it at a showing or do you do consultations or what?
A little bit of both.
You pick and choose or just kind of read them?
It depends. Yeah, I read them. Okay. Typically, like if they're ready, they're kind of ready to go. Okay, let's go ahead and meet at a property. You've already sent over 5-6 properties.
Let's just meet there. Yeah.
Let's meet there. And then typically we're, of course, bringing like the buyer broker agreement. Then we like to do it more so at the office though. That way we're making more of a personal connection before we get out there.
Because I think I saw you post something where you were saying how cozy the office was.
Yeah.
And I know those consultations are huge because I didn't start doing those. I should have from the beginning, but I didn't start till a couple years in when I saw other realtors like yourself doing them regularly. I think it was you and Lucretia and one other lady that was doing them regularly. Yeah. And I was like, that's something simple that I should probably be doing. Right. Because it usually comes down to something like that. Mm-hmm. So I actually did 2 or 3 up here at the office. Yeah. Because usually you try to...
who you are, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I struggled with rushing in the beginning to just meet them there. But now I'm kind of flipped where I'm not slowing people down, but I'm also not taking 20 houses.
Got you.
You know?
As far as like showing them at one time?
Yeah, or...
Got you.
Like them dictating how fast we have to move.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find that balance.
Absolutely.
I had a client that was referred to me, which was cool. But it was their first time buying a home.
Of course, yeah.
And we only looked at 6 or 7. So I felt really good about it. Because first time home buyer under 150 in the city.
That's real good.
So to only look at 6 or 7 was like really good. And they probably sent me 20, which wasn't a problem. I don't try to not show somebody something. But I think new home construction helped me pay attention to asking the right questions.
What exactly they want, because they can send you 20 homes, but 4 of those 20 homes is like really what they're actually to be able to buy. Having looked at the FHA, what needs to be done, so asking those questions up front. Like just a one-on-one is what we typically call it, but yeah.
Did you do that like your whole career, or because I noticed I started asking more of those questions on the phone, or like say they send you 15 and going through them. Not until after I got ran around a few times. Then I was like, okay, I don't want to show 8.
Right.
That's crazy.
So I feel like I just started to differentiate between warm and cold. So like if you have like a bunch of questions on the phone, okay, go ahead and meet me in my office, because I don't want to overwhelm you over the phone. You're like, okay, what did this woman just say? I want to be able to actually see you, hear you, or see you receive this information, as opposed to someone who's already got 6 homes. Okay, you know a little bit about the process. So you already kind of know what you want. Then we can get to that first home, and then I can kind of give you the spiel of what I would at a one-on-one consultation.
Have you always been confident like that?
No, real estate helped me.
Really?
With confidence.
Because you seem like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, like you seem like you know what you're talking about, which is what you should be.
Absolutely.
But it feels that way.
I appreciate you saying that. It took me a while to get here. I can't even lie. I used to walk in shaking. And then, of course, I always look different. So then I'm like, okay, am I doing too much? Am I doing enough? Then, of course, I was on like the spiritual path. So I was like not saying the right things and stuff like that. But
when you say not saying the right things, what do you mean?
So like I use words like manifest and desire and stuff like that. And so I didn't want that to turn someone off. Now I'm comfortable in it. And so it's like, it helped me grow like that confidence.
Someone told me, 100%. Someone told me, it was another real estate buddy. He was mentioning how like once you are yourself, you'll kind of attract those type of clients. And the ones that don't fit, you can still help. But even those ones that don't fit and just move on, it's okay because you're taking care of others.
There you go.
And in new home sales in the beginning, I was the opposite of trying to be myself. I was like really changing my whole self because I'd never sold anything. So I get what you mean. In the beginning, you're probably trying to not say the wrong thing, not ask the wrong question, not know not say I don't know.
Right.
Like even something so simple.
I'm like,
but now it's like, yeah, I have no idea, but we'll look it up.
Like, there you go. I was going to say, exactly.
It's so normal.
Working in the restaurant helped me do that as well. Because I would be like, when I go to a restaurant now, I worked in the restaurant business for 7-8 years.
Wow.
So when we would have to know exactly what type of question was going to come up, essentially. There was no, I don't know. And if we didn't know, it's okay, let me go ask real quick, as opposed to, I don't know, and just leaving it there. So that really helped me in real estate, not just leave people on the back burner like, oh, I don't know, and just keep on passing by. I was like, no, I'm going to find out. My broker, she's amazing in that aspect as well. I can call her at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what was that again? And she's like, oh, let me explain this to you. I'll send you a whole article about it. And that just kind of, again, helped me know if you have a question, that's okay. So it's good. I
don't think people know how important it is for a good broker. Luckily, I'm with Copper Creek, but do you know Brett Kreger?
I've seen his name several times. I've never met him, though.
I'm actually going to interview him pretty soon, but he's been my broker since day one, besides a little stint when we were making switches.
Okay.
But
I was wondering, I was like, I remember seeing him switch, and then you went back, and I was like, wait a minute, what was going on?
Yeah, when I found out he was running his own thing, I linked up with him, and he's the other type, like you're saying, where you can call at any time. I called the other day and it was 8:45, which is way too late to be calling, but I had a quick question and he answered the question, and then we moved on. And sometimes it's text, but he literally checked on a file for me and just passed me when you were showing up. He's like, did you get that? And I'm like, yep. He's like, all right, cool. See you next time. So I don't know if people understand how empowering it can be to have those good resources, whether it's a broker or your lender friend, someone you can call.
And they're so willing to just, absolutely, I want to help you, help me, and we're going to work together. It's amazing. I absolutely love my broker. But my mom also met her 20 years ago when they first got into real estate, like almost the same time.
So you were super young.
Heck yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay. So now she treats me like a daughter, literally.
And it's just you in it, or your sisters too?
No, she does. She's a hairstylist.
Okay.
I don't know if you probably see me post her stuff, but yeah, so she does hair. She's been doing it since she was like 16. Wow. And now she's 28, 29. So she has her own business with that.
That's pretty cool. How long have you been growing your dreads?
3 years. So everything literally started as I was getting my license, going plant-based, growing my hair. It was just a whole new reality for me, honestly. And real estate just, again, like it helped me build that confidence. Like you're a walking billboard and you have to be confident in that billboard that you're, creating or how you speak and things like that. And so I was like, I'm going to really just go full throttle in who I am and like embrace it to the fullest. And that's just like where, like what you end up seeing on social media and stuff like that. So yeah. Yes,
what sparked that? I know the real estate, but like to be yourself, because you would think you'd start real estate and then not hide yourself, but just conform a lot until you got set.
And so I noticed a lot, like the biggest thing with like the holistic aspect of it was just witnessing my mom. Again, yeah, she worked 20 years and stuff like that. She's a hustler. But I would notice I would come home because before I got my license, I would like do her books and stuff like that while I was studying for the exam. And I would come in like, hey, Mom, did you eat anything today? No. Did you drink anything today? No. Mom, why do you have the same? Not telling her business, but like, why do you have your pajamas on and it's 4:00 in the afternoon? And so I started to see her lack of like, I'm not gonna say taking care of herself, but fully just like taking care of her body, like in her temple and stuff like that. And then I also grew up as like more of an outsider. And I didn't realize it until now. I'm like, oh, I just need to embrace it. Like, I've always been that different person. People would see me like, Jonae is or she's so sweet, she's so kind. And I would kind of shy away from it. Like, I don't want to be too nice. Like, what? No. And so, again, having that balance between my mom and then also Aisha being my broker, she's steadfast, she's hard hustling going, but she also takes care of herself in that sense of just presentation and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so, it just helped me find like a balance. But it was really what sparked it. Not taking care of myself as well. Like when I was
like college-wise?
Like when I was in the service industry, I was gaining weight like crazy. Oh my God. And I was always moving, constantly moving. I would throw my uniform in the washing machine real quick before I had to go, leaving me 5 minutes to get to work and eat at the same time. I'm like, no, you're becoming your mom. Like, that's not okay. And you're trying to teach her to do X, Y, and Z. And so eventually I just stopped. I cut out meat because I noticed I was like I just noticed the difference. I did like a 10-day detox. And so I instantly noticed the difference. Okay. And it just stuck since then. Honestly, it was like a mindset change.
So 3 years plant-based now?
To answer your question. It was just one day I was like, no, I want different. How do I go about doing different? How do I research that difference as far as like taking care of my body, taking care of myself, temple, crystals, the herbs, the incense,
what kind of crystal do you have on?
So this is a carnelian right here. This one's just like an opalite. These are more stones, and then this one's a selenite.
Okay, what's the benefit of the selenite? So since it's by your head.
It's good. There you go. So it's like more of the opening of the third eye, creativity, speaking clearly, speaking your truth. There's a lot of things that I can say about this one, but it's my jewel.
Well, go ahead. I want to know more.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Absolutely. It helps me just stay grounded.
Okay.
Ultimately, when people see me, that they instantly see this. And I didn't realize until everybody was seeing like, oh, I love your crystal. And I'm like, this is really me. Like, I don't necessarily worship the crystal, but I understand the properties of it and what it offered me. It just keeps me calm, cool, and grounded, honestly.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, because I used to, like, even when I was serving and stuff like that, we had scripts. So everything was already scripted for me and stuff like that. But I was like, I would always add my own little like pizzazz or sauce to it. And they'd be like, oh, I love you. I love your energy. And I'm like, oh, well, thank you. Like I just, became myself. So yeah. I started embracing them more and more because I just wanted, it complements my outfits, but also it tells you a little bit about me without me having to say anything.
I never thought of it like that as far as, because I like to just be myself as well, but I didn't think it in a way of it tells you a little bit about me without saying anything.
Because it starts a conversation instantly. People are like, what is that? I'm like, oh, it's this one. I got one too. I'm like, really? Let me see. And so it's a beautiful thing. It really
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've got a necklace that my grandpa gave me, and I think it's similar to jade, but it looks more stone than it does
I got you.
Crystal.
Yes.
So I don't know what it is
exactly.
I started
to like differentiate between the two too. And I was like, oh, there's differences.
Yeah, you can, you know what I mean? And
Excuse me.
It's funny that anytime I wear it, which I haven't worn it as much lately because I got some new native jewelry when I was out of town. So I've been wearing that.
Heck yeah.
But the gold one, it gets a compliment every time. Like every time I wear it, any day. Yeah. And I think it's hilarious. Even if I have a jacket and it's barely there, someone's like, oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And I didn't used to think like this, but now when they say that, it's not like, oh, that's a cool compliment. It's more like, oh, I must be attracting good stuff.
There you go.
Like this person, I don't know.
Yeah.
It happened here at the coffee shop. It happens out and about.
They see you. Absolutely. We've been taught just mundane things as far as like putting on jewelry and stuff like that. Oh, the golds and the silvers and stuff like that. But it's like there's more meaningful crystals or like jewelry out there that again can describe who you are as you put it on and stuff like that. Every day I'm always, it's like intentional. So like if they're like we're in a certain moon sign or a certain sun sign, I'm always switching this. And so it's like it just makes you stop really and think, okay, before I put this on, what do I want to like attract from this?
Have you seen when people tell you to like hold them and then like see if it pulls you forward or back, right?
No.
Or side to side? Like I went crystal hunting in Arkansas for quartz. They have a lot of quartz out there, which I only did it one day. But being in that mine, I was like, oh, this shit sucks. Like it's so hot, but you're a big kid because you're digging in the dirt and you see stuff. So you're like,
oh my God, yeah.
But we were in this crystal store. There was no one there. And the lady was a local. See, this is one of these other things where you think it's luck, but it's not luck.
I always say it's divine.
I'll branch off for just a second. Absolutely. But like every time my wife and I go to a restaurant or a coffee shop or whatever, when we're traveling or even here, we get in line, get our order, but then there's 20 people in the line. And that's all the time.
That's crazy.
It happens to you?
Yes.
It's all the time.
People wasn't coming until I got here. I'm like, but that was divine. Like it was meant to be that.
Yeah, not even like I'm special. Yeah. It's just like, no, I was able to get that.
Right.
And then it got busy.
Absolutely.
Because I guess since I'm being good, I'm getting treated good. But
even the people around you start to reflect like who you are. You know, and that's when like I notice like differences, or when it's time for me to like maybe do a cleanse or cleanse my crystals. When I notice negative energy, like that guy that almost ran me off the road today, I was like, no, I can't come in and bring this energy. Exactly, I'm just not gonna do it because I was shaking. And so things like that, it's like, okay, but what do I need to do on myself? I need to slow down.
What do you do with the cleansing? Like, how do you cleanse it?
So typically, I'll just put them in the sun, or I'll take like some sage and I'll just run it around like my house, just like that. Oh yeah. So I think we have like either a full.
It's next Friday.
There you go. I mean,
I'm not high up on the spiritual thing, but I do pay attention to the full moon.
Absolutely, yeah. So things like that. That's typically how I do it, or I take like some moon water and just kind of wash them like that. So
the moon water is just water that sits outside during that time.
Okay. That's it. Yes, sir.
Do they have to be closed the whole time?
Yeah, that's typically how I do it. That way, no spiders or ants and stuff like that get in there, because most likely they would. So I typically just.
Well, I'll do that next week because I haven't done the water.
Yeah. Did you ever find what was you looking for? Like a gallon glass?
I didn't find none of that.
I've never seen those before, so I figured
the 5-gallon glass is like all these companies rent them to you, but none of them sell them. Oh. And then you try to look them up online, and they're like $70 a piece.
Gotcha.
And it's not terrible. Like you could do it, but I don't know.
Right.
So right now I'm conforming to just this one that says BPA free, which I'm not super happy about.
I got you.
Because it's plastic.
But I had one too. Yep.
I bit the bullet on it.
I hear you.
So that's what I've been using.
Sometimes you do.
Mm-hmm. But at least you're thinking about it, I guess.
Exactly.
But on the full moon, it's funny how it connects to each person. But for me, so I'm Comanche.
Okay.
And Comanche's the full moon it's kind of like not a negative, it's a positive. But that's when they would do their raids because they could see.
Gotcha.
And they felt like it gave them extra power and things like that. So I use it more on the cleanse side since I'm not in war, thankfully.
Right.
I'm more on just like the war of life. But
absolutely,
I treat those days nice and try to go outside for a little bit of time and have those. We have a wood tray. Ooh. We'll just throw them all in there.
Absolutely, yep.
And set them out there either overnight or for a little bit of time. But we have a range of them.
It's all about having like a practice that will bring you back to yourself, essentially.
Yeah, I feel like it's really unique. It's just whatever you like.
There you go.
Like, there you go. Especially with the sage and stuff. So some of my friends I'll bless when they come by. One, because of the just normal spiritual side. But then two, the native side. So I just connect the two. But they always like ask me what to do. And I always tell them just do whatever they want to do.
Just do whatever you want.
Like whatever feels good.
There you go.
Think of stuff that you want to think about and relax.
That's it.
But don't take direction.
Yes. That's one thing I had to learn, because I was always like, okay, I want it now. But I was like, no, you got to sit in this. You really have to see, why do you want it? How do you see it coming to fruition? What steps are you taking to actually get there? And so a lot of people, they hear manifest and think, okay, overnight. And it's like, no, you have to actually do the work. And that's kind of where I kind of how I approach real estate. Again, I know you've probably seen me, mindset to ownership is like my biggest thing.
Okay.
Because a lot of times, or just in history, a lot of minorities weren't able to purchase homes. So that's one like mindset that you already, I just can't purchase a home. It's not something that's normal essentially or allowed actually back then.
Yeah.
And so in order to change your mindset, I noticed even like people who would come in with like maybe they were a first time home buyer, but like their parents may have already owned a home. it's not a conversation that's being had at home.
Yeah.
And so how can I expect you to come in and be so positive about the process if you know nothing about it? And so I wanted to meet people beforehand, before they even come to me. So again, we're aligning with each other. So if your mindset's a little bit negative, I'm going to ask you to work on that before you come to my consultation. And that's kind of how I approached again, like the mindset aspect of it, because it changes everything, because we have tools now to be able to purchase home. There's down payment assistance. There's ways you can get grants and X, Y, and Z. And just knowing that you deserve ownership, that's something that it's a milestone in this society. So it's like, I want people to really, truly understand that, like, and really embrace it. And so,
So you're comfortable with putting someone on hold just because they're not fitting your not personality type, but they're not aligning with you.
Yeah.
So you don't even.
I got a client right now.
You don't even force that negative, because I'll be honest. There's some I've worked with that I didn't like.
Yeah.
And I just closed them and got it done. Mm-hmm. But that's cool that you didn't, and you make them work on it first.
Because I've done that before, and I was like, nope, I'm gonna get it done. This woman was disrespectful. And the day before closing, it all fell apart. I was like, had you just let it go then? You were trying to hold on to something that wasn't aligned with you. And that was like my guilt. Like, okay, I'm going to be more focused on aligning with clients as opposed to just forcing it, and like, and not saying that that's what you did, but like just.
No, but you're right.
Rushing through it, and then like not even giving them my full of like who I am. Because now I got to change who I am when I approach you. And I didn't like that. I did not like that. Because now I got to meet you. You're being rude to me. Okay, I got to be rude to you. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to be kind to you. I want this process to be smooth for you. And so that was like my wake up call. Because I was like, we went through this entire thing. Had her under contract. Was days from like closing. Had everything done. As far as like repairs and stuff like that. And it just fell through last month.
I had probably 2 of those last year. That I felt like I was forcing. And maybe that's when I made the switch. When I tell you there's ones that I pushed through, it was further back. Last year, I had 2 of them, and it was crazy because it was 2 times I was on a long vacation, which I guess it's vacation, but I'm traveling for 3 weeks at a time on those long ones. Mm-hmm. So it seems more like an adventure than a vacation because I'm doing a lot of work too. Not real estate work, but like inner work, but also just living, trying to absorb it.
That part.
Trying to make sure I can remember it.
Right.
I have friends that travel a lot, and I'll say, what's your favorite, or not your favorite, but they'll bring up a place. In Barcelona. And I'm like, okay, what was your favorite meal there? And they're like, oh, we ate a lot of good food. I'm like, nah, I can tell you like the ingredients. And that doesn't make me better, but
it makes you present.
Yeah. I was no, I had buttermilk fried rabbit with like gravy. Like it was crazy. Like it was good. Well, it was. I was like, buttermilk fried rabbit. Yeah, I'll take that. So it's funny that I guess it's just what's important to you.
It's an adventure, like you said, not a vacation from life. It's more so of just exploring. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really dope. I love that you mentioned that. I actually had like a college course that there was, what was it? It was like the science of happiness.
Are you serious?
Right? So serious.
Wow.
It was like a 9-week course, and it was the longest course of my life, but it was cool. And so like one of our final projects was to create some type of experiment where you're measuring happiness.
Okay.
And so me being in the restaurant business then, serving business then, I thought about how people, again, like when they eat meals, most people, like you just mentioned, don't remember what they had, don't even know what they ordered, how it tasted and stuff like that. So I was like, giving people conversations to talk about typically allows them to enjoy the meal, which sounds crazy, typically allows them to be more present. And this was this was literally proven by science. And I was like, this is crazy. Mm-hmm. And so my professor was like, that's amazing that you even put that together. And I was like, even asking people, like, when you come up to the table, how's your meal tasting? Allow them to stop and be like, you know what, it is really good. Mm-hmm. And so it was just different things of being like, 1, being present, and then 2, having a conversation that flows that allow you to just remember like that point in time where you were at. So
it's funny how it can spark too. For me, it's I keep a travel journal.
Yeah.
And it's not a ton of thoughts only, because most journals you're like jotting down just what happened. Mm-hmm. Mine's more of specific of what happened, so it's like a timetable. Yeah. And for me, I like it more than just journaling about the day on those adventures, because I just need. It's like when you go to do a speech or something, like you only need a second, or a multiple choice test. You only need one thing to spark it. So I don't have to write down like the whole thing. I'll just put like great muscles, great broth, crispy bread. And then I like remember that, where I'm like, oh, this place right here.
Absolutely.
So
those keywords. Yeah, for sure.
Because I didn't know how much it meant to me till we started traveling a few years ago, but we just went to the UK last January.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And after that is when I got more intentional on the not taking a ton of photos, writing in my journal. Like even when we'd go to coffee a couple days later, if I missed 2 days, I catch up real quick.
Yeah.
And then it transitioned over here to where when we went to California or Arizona or even just Texas or Arkansas or something like that, I just write it down. And I think just like this podcast, it'll be something where you can look back at not only memories, but kind of mindset, what was important, what you enjoyed.
Right.
Instead of just photos. I enjoy the photos because it does transport you back.
For sure. Absolutely.
So I love it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, something about writing it down or taking the time to write it when you're at the place you were at, it seems like you recollect it faster.
For sure.
I don't know.
I can remember like instantly even from you saying that because I've only kept a travel journal maybe once and I was a kid then and we went to California and I can tell you exactly what we did then because I remember writing down like today we did this.
And you won't remember that without it.
Nope.
And a couple times with my wife, she asked me something. She usually, well, women in general, they usually remember everything.
Of course.
But she'll ask me something and I'll be able to flip to it and be like, oh, it was actually a matcha latte with 2 muffins or something, and I can just move on. And it seems simple to someone, I think, if they were just like to look at it.
Right.
But to me, it's like huge to just look back
for sure,
on.
and be able to, like you said, remember exactly what took place. That's dope. And that's the only thing we have in life is our experiences.
But you've been traveling more recently, right?
I've been solo traveling a little bit more,
Like, because you said you were trying to do more, or I'm speaking for you, but I saw on your social media, it looked like you were doing more smaller trips, like solo, intentional, like just going with it. Because where'd you go? Chicago?
Somewhere to go, Chicago. Yeah. So there was this artist I met back in Miami when I solo traveled there.
Painting or musical?
Musical artist, yes, sir. I always, when I say artist, I'm like, artist. But yeah, he's like more of a, I wouldn't even say spiritual artist, but more of a conscious artist. Like his music is very intentional. And I met him back then in Miami, and he was doing another concert in Chicago. Well, a friend that I met when I was in Miami, she lives in Chicago.
Cool.
Again, a lineman. She texted me, was like, hey, his concert's going to be here. Would you like to come? And I was like, heck yeah. And I had the best time.
That's awesome.
Chicago's got some good food.
That's what I heard.
Oh, my goodness.
We're trying to go next year in May because they have a mole festival. Do you eat mole?
I don't know.
It's
I've heard of it.
I'm going to butcher the explanation. So to all my Hispanic friends on here, like,
okay, I was thinking, okay.
Disregard. But it's basically, if I were to explain it to you, it's like a thick sauce that goes on whatever.
Okay.
But it's the thing. It's like a curry.
Okay.
But it's something else.
That's what I envisioned when you said it.
So, and that, I don't know if that's a good description, but most of the time you see it over like roasted chicken or plantains or like one of the best ways I had it was a plantain mole taco with like pickled onions. So that was really good. Have you ever been to Tacotarian?
So, no.
It's not here. So I'm not trying to get you hyped. But anytime you're somewhere else, probably in Chicago too. Okay. But just look it up.
You said taco?
It's a vegetarian taco place. Okay. And I went there and had, you know what a torta is, right? Yeah. Like a big old sandwich. Yeah. Me and my wife went to San Diego and we were eating there, drinking margaritas, having a great time. And I was like, oh yeah, this is vegetarian. Because I said this the other day. I'm more, I would say plant forward, but I do eat regular amounts of high quality meat, whether it's beef or deer or chicken or fish. But I went there just because I know it's good. And then I was like, oh yeah.
He was like, wait a minute.
I was like, this is way less heavy. So it just made me laugh. I ate the whole thing and I was like,
no itis.
No itis. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, that's why. But
absolutely,
you would really like it. I know you'll probably forget, but just think back to it. Tacotarian.
Yeah. Like vegetarian, tacotarian. That's easy. Oh,
First time I went was in Vegas. We went twice. Okay. And then when we went to San Diego, it was there, and I was like, we'll try it again.
I just love, like, that's the first thing I do when I travel. I'm looking for food.
Oh.
Honestly, truly. It's bad. I'm like, okay, they're like, what did you do? I'm like, I ate? Like, what else would I do? Because Oklahoma, we don't have too many vegan options that aren't, I say, dyed, fried, and laid to the side. I'm like, everything is fried. That's vegan. That's like in a restaurant. And now, don't get me wrong, I enjoy it, but having those other options that are more healthier, massaged kale and pickled onions, things like kale? That. So like kale typically is really tough and like chewy. So you have to massage it to get it more, to make it more soft and digestible, essentially.
But when you eat it, what are you eating it with?
They'll typically put maybe an oil, like a balsamic oil on there.
So it's like a salad kind of?
Basically.
Okay.
Basically.
What's some of your go-to spots around here, you think? Or do you mainly cook at home?
I mainly cook at home, but you haven't had Betty's.
I haven't had Betty's. You
gotta have Betty's. I mainly cook at home, but if I'm eating somewhere, Flower Child has some really good options.
Flower Child's solid.
Oh, they're so amazing.
Is that bowl? Okay, I do the bowl.
The Mother Earth bowl.
Mother grains or something.
Yep, yes, sir.
I'm big on those. I think they call them Buddha bowls sometimes.
Basically. Which is the number one thing that I'll make because it's easy. Put some things in the oven and you just throw it all together, get you a sauce. And
For me, it's a skillet, and I'm just like, throw this, and then it's like, well, this is pretty good because I grew up eating a lot of the same stuff, but now I don't mind veggies. Like, it's not that I never had a thing against veggies, but I like being able to explore more. Yes. What's some of your favorite go-tos, I guess?
Comes to like veggies?
Or just your stuff you cook? Because I think some people think... I'll say one thing. My friend was like, yeah, I can't do the vegan thing or vegetarian thing because I feel like I'm only eating sides. And I thought that was a good point for a second. I was like, okay. But the only replacement at that point, is it mushroom? Before you go into fake stuff, is it... And I don't mean that disrespectful.
No, I know what you mean.
Before you go into engineered
the processed things, there you go.
Mushroom?
Mushrooms, chickpeas, lentils.
Chickpeas are good.
Absolutely.
And lentils are good even cold, which I was surprised. I was like, these are really good
like,
cold.
It's like a little grain. Yeah, absolutely. I get like kava. I don't know. I didn't say that. Kava is amazing for
I forgot what that is. What is it again?
So like a Mediterranean Qdoba. That's what I think of it as. So they
the restaurant. I thought you meant the ingredient.
Got you. Yeah, no.
It's cassava.
Cassava.
There we go.
We were here on that.
But kava's good.
Kava's amazing. Oh my goodness. And like all of their ingredients are mainly clean. But
it's funny that when you do begin to be health conscious on your food, we can only talk about 4 or 5 spots. And it's not even that they're just insane amazing. It's like, no, they're simple ingredients. I don't want like a lot of extra stuff.
Yeah. Now I will say one time I went to Alabama and they like had this cauliflower, eggplant, chickpea croquette.
Croquette's like a little fried thing, right?
But it was made that they put like a tomato basil sauce on the top. So it's getting more creative. Like that's really, and being intentional again, because like a lot of these foods, all of these foods are healing. They're meant to heal you. A lot of times we're just eating just to eat. And it's like, no, you actually are supposed to eat a certain amount of nutrients every day and stuff like that. So again, that's what I got on that whole health kick. But now it's easier for me. I'm like, okay, I need some fats, avocado.
You can tell?
Grains. Oh yeah, I can tell what I'm missing.
I kind of struggle on what I'm missing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty health conscious, but I don't feel like I pay attention
What makes it easier now, because I was like driving myself crazy because I was wanting to know exactly what I was missing as far as like minerals. Because it is hard, like as a plant-based person, it's really hard to get all what you need in one day. So supplements and stuff like that. But I went to a naturopathic doctor, and I don't like being pricked and stuff like that.
I'm gonna have to get your info on that because I just for real. What's it called?
His name is. I'll have to send you. He's on Facebook, so I have to send you his Facebook information when we leave.
Okay,
text myself that, right?
Yeah, do that because it's not that I'm like way off, but I've noticed in the summer months I've dealt more with migraines. And I think it may be minerals or just the pollen.
Absolutely.
But I don't want to let it win. I don't want to be like, I get migraines now every May.
He's like, my mom, she's like, she gets migraines like crazy. And this became a part of her. I'm like, Mom, no, you need X, Y, and Z. You're missing this mineral. And so it took her like knowing that. So she'll always ask me when she gets a headache. She's like, what do I need to take? I'm like, one, you need lavender. You need to calm yourself down. You're probably overexcited, overworked.
Yeah.
And you need to calm down. And so like, then you need to drink, blood purifying herbs. So like,
what's that like?
Burdock root. It's what it is opening up your blood vessels, essentially allowing the blood to actually flow. So basically, typically when you're having a migraine, your blood is restricted. Okay. And then you if you get cold, like when she gets cold and she has migraine, she literally she'll throw up, she goes through an entire episode. So you're missing some nutrients. That's all it is. Drink you some tea, chamomile to calm you down, one, and then those blood purifying herbs. She's good. Ginger is another one that opens up the blood vessels. So it's typically knowing exactly what's going on. And that was my biggest thing. I used to go crazy. Like, okay, I don't know what's going on. So then I would drive myself even more crazy by not knowing.
And then researching it all and going crazy there.
So I was like, let me just go to this naturopathic doctor. And
how was that experience?
It was beautiful. So again, like I said, I don't like being pricked. Let me make sure I said this to you.
You're fine, but I'm curious how it is with, I don't know. Because when we were growing up, I felt like people would be more like, that's crazy. But now I talk to someone like that and I'm like really happy that they're so passionate about it or something like that.
And so what he does is he checks my mineral levels without pricking me. So there's this I couldn't even tell you what the machine was, but he put it on my finger and it basically read everything about me. He's like, okay, you're dealing with this, you're dealing with this, you're missing this. And I'm like, huh? And he's just looking at the screen the entire time. He's like, yeah. So you need to be drinking like bee pollen was one of the supplements he offered.
I just started eating more bee pollen.
Yeah, okay, that's dope.
I've been putting it in my sorbet. We have a juicer. Ooh. I know. It sounds like I'm being bougie.
No, that makes so much sense.
It's like a sprinkle.
I like it.
It's like a sprinkle.
Yeah, because it does have like a sweet taste to it.
Well, and they're crunchy. But there's this Ninja. No, it's not Ninja. There's this juicer, and it was our first expensive one because the cheaper ones like kept breaking. So we got a legit one, but it came with an attachment, and we'll do frozen mango or something in it, and then it'll pour out. Yep. But I've been doing the bee pollen on top, and it's been pretty good.
Amazing.
Or in your yogurt.
Yeah. Yes,
so it's good. I don't take it every day. I probably should, but
that was my biggest thing too. Like, how long should I take this? So like typically they say 30 days. That way you start to see a difference, and you also just like you feel the difference.
And then forever after, or
that's like I asked
where
him.
I get stuck at.
Right, that was me too. I'm like, now how long should I be taking this? He said like come back and I'll let you know as far as like where your levels are, so then you can kind of slow down on taking it and things like that. Because mainly once you start to, I got like focus on the pairing as well. Because like it's a lot of things we could just take, and if we don't pair it with something, our body may not actually digest it.
Yeah, my wife had to write a list of when I'm supposed to take stuff. Yes. She's like, take this with this, but only take this with this.
And don't take it with this because this is going to block that.
Yeah.
Like, man. So like when I got really focused on that and he helped me with that, I could text him, ask him any questions. He's like, okay, what are you doing? What's happening right now? Okay. Did you feel woozy? He's like, okay, maybe you need to go ahead and add just a little bit more of that and then come back to me and let me know how you feel. So it's really a day by day thing. Honestly.
So it's just checking in with yourself and kind of seeing where you're at. That's so interesting because it is.
Like you said, checking in with yourself. Things that we don't do. Like it sounds crazy. Like you mean you have to figure out what's going on with me every day? Yeah, because for 20, 30 years you didn't. So
that is true because I think it's almost like a lot of work, but it kind of is what it is. It is what it is. If you weren't stuck in
one body.
Yeah, if you weren't stuck in just normal, fast-paced life, you would be paying attention to what helps.
And that's when I realized a lot of us are in survival mode. Like not only just like mentally, but physically, spiritually, all of that. I'm like, oh wow, like I wasn't eating minerals for how long? And I'm like, how did I live so long? Like even when you got to that, like down to the nitty and gritty of it, I'm like, you mean I've been out? He's like, baby, I call myself, I was walking around minerally dead. And he's like, I mean, that's what you can call it. But like that's the power of our body. It's gonna work for you. It really is
crazy.
Until it can't.
And women are really strong. I don't know if like it doesn't get said enough that like even though men can sometimes be more physically strong or quick or something.
Absolutely.
Women can deal with shit longer. So like me, I'll get a migraine and when it's real, I'm like, hey, ice pack, lay down.
The day is done.
Putting real estate on hold. Exactly. But with my wife, she'll be dealing with something for 2 or 3 days and she just keeps doing her thing. So how do you balance not pushing through too much, or now not babying yourself, but now are you just way more conscious to like, no, I need this. I need my rest here.
Yes, absolutely. My number one thing is putting my phone on do not disturb, having a certain amount of hours where I'm not answering my phone and like from the nighttime to the daytime. That was my number one thing.
It is nice at night.
Man.
You do it at whatever time you feel comfortable with, and then you don't check it till you wake up.
Exactly.
And hopefully not right when you wake up, but which I'm guilty of sometimes. But
it's okay.
Man, sometimes I'll go to do it and I'm like consciously knowing that I shouldn't be doing it. And then I'll like slap my hand or something. But sometimes you still give in, especially with real estate, because you'll open it up and you're like, well, it's just 6 texts. But then that's 15 minutes.
There you go.
So
there you go. And that's energy just being pulled away from you when you could have just focused on yourself for that 15 minutes.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I think I need to learn that it's going to start when it starts.
Yeah.
So just like hold it up.
Yes.
A little bit.
And give people, that's again, those one-on-one consultations, I give them the expectation. Like my phone goes on do not disturb. So you may not hear from me until this time, but do know I'm not ignoring you. I just have to set time for myself. Because we say, we're available 24/7, but that's not really what we want to be, available 24/7. So.
Because it's a hard job.
Say that again. Not to want to constantly and like instantly respond to your clients.
And feeling like you're missing something if you don't respond or, oh, I didn't get this lead because I was kind of slow on, like it just, it gets all this pressure. And you're like, oh, not a down month because we're all consistent, but you'll be like, oh, that was a lower month than the month before, but I did this. It's hard not to be too self-critical.
Absolutely.
Because then I try to figure out like, what's really important too. I'm like, no, I want to make the most money that I can.
Right.
And I want to set myself up. But I also want to enjoy my days.
There you go. I want to enjoy my money. And I watched my mom, I witnessed her not enjoy her money. I'm like, no, you got it. Like when it comes to trips and stuff like that, she would go on trips and laptop right in front of her. Y'all, 1 second. Okay. I'm like, you're not even enjoying your trip. And so again, it was experiences for me, like seeing that. One thing that really helps me is having a routine. So it's like, no matter what, this is what I'm doing.
And that's daily?
Daily.
You stick to it too?
I do.
That's impressive.
It's tough because I'm like, oh, but I want to text him back. And we have like morning AM calls. So that kind of helps me too. They're right at 9 every day. So I'm like, okay, before then I need to be doing exactly what I need to do.
What is it? What's some of your stuff?
Absolutely. So wake up at 6, open up my blinds, of course, like the mundane things, making my tea, doing my yoga. Tea. Yes. According to like, there's like a lot of different things when it comes to like how often you should switch out the herbs you're taking.
Really?
Yeah. Right? So like the rule
like
of thumb
you can't
is
do rosemary every day.
Basically, because like eventually your body will be like, okay, we're good. We don't need any more. So it's going to start rejecting it essentially. I know, it's crazy. And so I'll switch it up. I'll typically already have like the tea made or like to the side when I'm at night. And then I'll make it. Then my tea, I'll do my yoga.
You have your tea sitting the night before, so when you wake up, it's just hot water? Okay.
And I do what's called like a double broiler. So I don't know if you ever seen me like put my, like show people like how I'm brewing my tea. But I'll put it in a glass container, like a jar container, and then I'll put that in the water.
Yeah.
Then, so basically like that. Yoga, I do a walk with me and my sister. We both have dogs, so that's easy.
You live together?
She lives right around the corner from me.
So you get to see each other every day?
Every day.
That's cool.
And I love it because
nice.
Growing up, she was like living with her dad and stuff
like that. But funny to see you all like, hey girl, walking out the house. It's like real old, but you're not. But it's like, that's a cool moment.
That is so funny, but yes. I feel like we both mature. Like, hey, and people are like, oh, look at them with their dogs. But that's like my highlight of my day. I love it because we get like a good 2.5 miles in with our dogs.
Yeah, I walk my dogs in the morning.
Yes, and I love it. And so by the time that's knocked out, I'm going to the gym, making breakfast. And by then, the day
so you
ready.
don't eat anything till the breakfast? You're just tea in the morning?
Typically like 9. Yeah, just tea. I don't like anything heavy in the AM. Even when I go out, I'm like, I got to have a smoothie. I got to have a drink. Like when I'm traveling and stuff like that, I'm like, they're like, oh, yes, eat breakfast. I'm like, breakfast? Pancakes and I cannot eat all that.
No, I can't either, but I have noticed, because everyone's different.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I really enjoy waking up and just doing, the juice that my wife made, and then a smoothie, and then a yogurt, and then it's not eating something heavy till 1, and I feel good.
There you go.
Or coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
But I have noticed when it's hotter, so because I'm learning, I'm just learning myself, but in the last month, I've noticed in the morning, if I have an actual breakfast, not an actual breakfast, that sounds like the other one's not. But when I have like a traditional breakfast,
yes,
I'll do some type of light meat, some eggs, some tomatoes, and something else after that, whether it's bread or rice or something. I tend to do better throughout the day with that.
Okay,
where
I hear you.
In the cooler months, I find myself a lot fasting till 1 or 2. And not necessarily just straight fasting. For me, fasting is fruit and liquids. And I'll do that till like 1 all the time. Yeah. But then when it's been hotter, I'm like, no, I need this. So it's interesting how it changes.
That makes sense. I've never really focused on like that aspect of it, but it makes sense because our body changes, like our needs change as the seasons change. So even like the fruits and veggies that we're eating changes, like as far as like what's in season and stuff like that.
Well, it's cooler when you can stay on track.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of times we eat stuff year round. But then when I watch videos on people because we grow a lot of our own stuff. But in the winter it's harder. So you're eating what you get.
There you go.
But they do say there's a lot to go, like when you are eating like that, like your ancestors, or just generally what's in season, you stay more in tune with it.
For sure.
So that is interesting.
Summer is meant to have like longer days. So it makes sense that you're wanting to get that bigger meal
maybe
during the AM as opposed to later. It makes so much sense. That's
because we're eating like, I eat more than her, obviously. But
that was another thing. Trying to keep up with my partner. I'm like, wait a minute, I can't keep up with you. I have to eat. Like,
my problem was trying to keep up with her or slow down to her and eat the same amount. And I was like,
no,
I can actually have more because we were doing a lot of weight cutting for MMA stuff.
Yeah.
And I had to realize that even though I'm being really healthy, I can eat more than her because I wouldn't sometimes. So that has helped. But recently, the morning meal And then I'm eating again at like 10 or 11 with what I would have normally ate
Got you.
in the morning. Like that fruit yogurt mix.
Yeah.
And then she cooks every day at like 2. I love that for you. I get really lucky.
I love that for you.
I tell people all the time, and they're going to get tired of it. I say that's like the highlight. Like today, before I came to meet you, she made a skirt steak with a homemade chimichurri.
Wifey's not playing.
No.
I love that for you.
Yeah, I really do love it. Yes. And I didn't know I'd love it as much. But my love language, like as a child, my grandma would cook for me or my mom would. So now that I look, it's like destiny. But
for sure.
It's funny because I'll eat those 3 times and then the rest of the day's a lot better. So I've noticed that when I'm eating 2 or 3 meals by 2 o'clock, it goes a lot better for me.
That part.
But it's hard to learn because I'll be around my dad or something and they eat whatever. And we went on a fishing trip and I was like, I'm going to have a patty melt. Like if my wife or I made a patty melt, it'd be fun.
Sure, right.
Like I can eat it.
Homemade's always better.
I can eat it.
Yeah.
This restaurant didn't look terrible and I knew I shouldn't have, but I was like, man, I want to eat with them.
There you go.
I want to eat with them.
Yeah, there you go.
And I ate it and then
step
felt
back
like
into the Matrix
shit.
for a second.
No, I hated
And then you're
it.
like, oh, shit.
I was in the truck and he's like, what's wrong with you? I was like, man, when you get up to this gas station, I'm about to throw this up. And he's like, why? And I'm like, I just can't eat that. And he's like, that's crazy. He pulled over and I had to throw up. And it wasn't like, nothing came out but that.
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like my body was like, nah.
Rejection.
No, you can't
Instantly.
have it.
Yeah.
It's wild.
For sure. That was my number one thing with becoming, we say lactose intolerant, but it's like you're not supposed to have dairy is the real tea on that. But I became lactose intolerant when I was eating like a bunch of ice cream before I went vegan, plant-based. And I remember thinking like I was forcing myself to like finish ice cream. I'm like, you're literally hurting yourself.
Yeah, I was not forcing myself. I was killing it. Before I got healthier, it was like 4 nights a week with my friend James at Brahms. Oh, like clockwork.
Oh, you were killing it for
I know.
real.
Yeah, I'm so lucky I met my wife because
Yeah.
I would eat too much ice cream and then I ate a lot of Sour Patch Kids. So even 7 years ago, I was in like, even though I was like kind of slim, I was still like fat or a lot of acne.
And that's the dead giveaway right there.
I didn't realize that was such a giveaway. But when I was growing up and had acne, I just thought it was like all the other boys, you know?
Outside things, but external.
Then
they never tell you it's external. Never. They're never going to tell you that.
It was crazy. You probably wouldn't have believed it if you would have saw me right before I got into real estate. It was like a lot. Thank you. But it was a lot.
Yeah.
And then I started eating healthy and that went away. And now, it's not just now, but within the last few years, like my nails used to be this short all the time. Yeah. Because I would bite them. And my grandma would always say, don't, and she would get on to me. But then my wife did. And since you live with your wife, it sticks harder because you're like, all right, like I'm not. But what's crazy is they grow weekly now. So I like have to clip them every week where I'm like, okay, that's healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't think of those.
It's a sign. I'm telling you, I love that. That's my favorite part. Again, like the detox is what showed me. I did a 10-day detox and I lost 14 pounds waste. That was just being held in my colon.
And that's only juices?
It was like extensive detox. So she has like a schedule.
Mean? Okay.
Man, so like it was like you have to follow exactly what she said. So like drinking your water, 40 ounces before this time, which was hard for me because I'm like, I feel like I'm drowning myself. But it's like, no, you need to flush out your system before you try to detox it. And so you're drinking 40 ounces in the AM and then you will have a certain type of detox drink. Now the detox drinks ranged from prunes in water to spinach in water. And then like in between that, you have your meals essentially, but it would be like flaxseed salad, which you're putting like 4 cups of flaxseed on spinach. And the only dressing you can have is lime juice.
Yeah, I like that. But that's my thing. I don't like dressing. I'm a lime or a lemon guy.
Absolutely.
So it's a good cheat code for me.
Right. And so.
But 4 cups of flaxseed is crazy.
I'm like, oh my God. And it's not ground flax seeds. It's whole
just boom. That's worse than the bee pollen.
I think so. Honestly, I was like, but by the second time I did it, it was easy. But
it's funny how that stuff becomes good when you're eating it for fuel,
Isn't it crazy? Because I used to not like grapefruits until I finished that detox. And now I love, not grapefruits, cantaloupe.
I was going to say grapefruits are a little bitter.
Cantaloupe. I was like, ew, cantaloupe. I have to eat cantaloupe because like for like 1 or 2, maybe 3 days of the detox, you're eating like a whole cantaloupe. And I was like, I fucking hate cantaloupe.
Well, you got to pause because you got to think of what cantaloupe you're eating as a child. It was probably
Say that again.
White cantaloupe from like Walmart or Target. Pre-made. I don't know your situation,
you're right.
but
you're absolutely right.
I just know that was the type of fruit that I was exposed to. And you're like, yeah, you don't like cantaloupe because that's not cantaloupe.
Exactly.
But then you eat a cantaloupe, you're like, oh, they're sweet.
Baby, it was good. Now I can eat a cantaloupe with a little lime juice and I'm good.
I remember we talked about the papaya.
Yes.
And
the seeds
I didn't
and
like,
all
I
that.
thought papaya stunk. And it does kind of stink.
It does.
But now I like it.
I'm not going to hold you.
Yeah, it does stink. But it's actually really good.
But it's really amazing for you.
Yeah.
Really amazing for you.
I did those seeds that you, like you said, for a while. And I got a little lazy sometimes, but I got a dehydrator and we dehydrated them and then powdered them and just threw them in smoothies. But
yes, sir.
Something's crazy to me is like you can't replace that stuff. Like I felt bad for my grandpa. He's dealt with a lot of cancer. And he just recently had cancer in the last few months and got it down. But he's like, oh, they gave me this medicine. It causes this, so they gave me this medicine, and now I've got this one, but I feel good. And I'm like, damn, that's like 3 chinks in the armor or whatever. And you should just be like eating normal stuff. Absolutely. Or I don't know. Like the look I saw on his face, he was at the hospital and I was there with him. And it was the first day he got admitted. And then he's just talking. He's like, yeah, when I would go to Hawaii with your tutu, because tutu's Hawaiian for grandma. Okay. And so you'd have like grand tutu, great grand tutu. So it's like a thing.
I love that too.
And he would tell me when I was in my 30s and I would go visit in Hawaii, I would always have papaya with lime juice. And I'd never done the lime juice on it. Like you said with the cantaloupe, I never did. But after he said that, the next day I came up to the hospital and I had papaya with lime juice and he was really happy. But I was like, I wish it was important to him to where he would just do that regularly. Because he could easily get a papaya. He goes to the grocery store every week. Yeah. So it's...
And I feel like for men, it's just that much harder because my papa is dealing with stage 4 right now, lung cancer. Wow. And so I've never seen this man eat a vegetable or a fruit. And so it's hard.
That's like my dad.
Men. He grew up in Louisiana. So I already know they're eating fried crawfish and catfish and alligator and just everything you could think of that was being added with like sodium, things like that. So I don't say all of us, but a lot of us may be dealing with cancerous cells in our bodies that we may not know until it gets to that stage 1, stage 2, stage 4. And now we're trying to hurry up and reverse it with maybe some medication and stuff like that. But when I like follow in like the research and the teachings of Dr. Sebi, and he goes like, there's no such thing as a disease in the body. It's a dis-ease that's showing up to let you know that there's something going wrong inside. Okay. Your body's not going to shut down on you on purpose, essentially. It's going to it's not going to create cancerous cells on purpose. Okay. You're feeding it cancerous foods, processed foods and things like that. And then you're not giving it, you're not replenishing it again with those minerals and things that we mentioned. And imagine, again, 60, 80, 70 years.
That is true. Because my dad's in his 50s.
So, yeah. And so you're like, oh, if someone just even, then again, it's always up to the woman. It is. It just essentially is like to curate a home that's going to provide healing. And so when, again, the mom's coming from a background where they didn't know that
their
either.
survival. Like my mom never eats.
Yeah.
And you would think she would be fat and out of shape.
But it's the same thing for my mom.
She's just slim. Yeah. And she just drinks beer and eats once a day.
No, she doesn't drink, but she'll eat one a day. I'm like, what? And she's like, I'm at Taco Bell. I'm like, you're where? You're at Taco Bell?
And it's crazy because how in shape she looks. I'm like,
you see my mom?
Yeah.
I'm like, Tracy, I get mad sometimes. I'm like, but even that was like another thing for me that I like struggled with. Because I'm like, okay, you see people who look completely healthy.
They look good. And then they're eating crap. You're like, and then you're being goofy inside. You're like, yeah, but you know that their stomachs are wrecked. Like, this, and this.
The mental fog is there. They can't focus. They can barely recall things that may have happened that day.
Get angry real fast.
There you go. So
it's wild.
It is.
Because you wouldn't think so much is tied to it.
You really wouldn't. But like again, I became one with like and I don't even call it a diet. I think of like as far as like every word having a meaning to it. And so I think it was just like just an eating lifestyle. This is what gives me life. I eat to live, or I eat to live. Not live to eat. I have to make sure I say that right. But essentially that's what it is. So like, even when I go out and try to get something that's fast food, I'm like, okay, is it going to give me exactly what I need? Yes, I would like to go get some Betty's, but Betty's is only going to give me carbs. That's nothing that's going to actually help me fuel my day. That's just me eating for enjoyment at that point. And so I had to really be able to differentiate between the two. And so people see me like, oh, Johnny's eating healthy. I'm like, eating healthy is normal. I hate that for us that we've gotten to this, I say like, essentially a sick society to where we think that eating healthy is not normal. It's like you're different. And she's drinking water. There she goes with her glass water again. I'm like, but your water source isn't. So it's all about learning. Yeah. And for me, I didn't want to be that person that's like always jumping down someone's throat. I just wanted to be the living example.
I did think in the beginning it was hard to not want to push it on people. But the more I realized that I'm only figuring it out for myself, like it made more sense. And then something that was funny is we did one Friendsgiving when we moved into our house. I bought a house by Hefner Lake a few years ago, and we did one Friendsgiving, and we cooked it all. Yeah. And we just did normal organic stuff. I mean, it wasn't vegetarian, but it was just normal organic ingredients. Yeah.
Clean.
And our friends murdered it. And
love that.
We didn't do it again, but they were asking all these questions about how good it was and stuff. And it's just normal ingredients. Like, you don't need like that much salt or that much sugar or that much. Like, I love salt. And when I was growing up, I ate way too much salt. Even now when my mom sees me eat, she doesn't believe it. But I still use salt, but it's like,
it's an
what type of salt?
That's it. Hello.
How much? I didn't think it was
like
that
the last thing I'm adding to a meal. I taste it. Okay, I can taste all the flavors. Now let me enhance it with this salt. That's basically it.
Yeah, my wife gets on me and she'll say like, hey, taste it first. Taste it. And she's not being rude. She's just trying to remind me, because my habit is to grab a little salt regardless.
That's it, yep.
But she'll say, hey, taste it first. And I'll be like, okay, this is good. Like, I didn't like vinegar, sour type food until I became more like vegetable forward.
Yeah.
Then I was like, no, that sour is appealing. But for the longest, I didn't like that taste. But now, like a slaw or a pickled onion or something like that can bite. It helps mix up those type of things.
Absolutely. It's like it is an enhancer, like another form of enhancer. Like, I think of olives as an enhancer. Like,
okay, I'm not big on olives. You like them though?
I love olives. Oh my God.
I'm scarred from my childhood, so I think that's why. Yeah.
What kind? Or I guess like just all olives? You're like, no.
It was just one at the time, and I was done. But I don't eat white sauces either, and that's from my childhood.
Got you. I'm that way when it comes to like dressings and stuff like that. I'm like,
no white sauces.
As soon as I see it, I'm like, get that away from me.
Yeah.
I'd rather be green, different colors than white.
No, my sister scarred me when I was young, and she put my binky in white sauces like twice, and I'll never forget. Like, I can't do it. I try.
You were traumatized.
Yeah. And then with the olives, it's so funny because it's trauma. But my dad's second wife made spaghetti, and she made spaghetti with olives.
Olives, yes. It's like a Dominican recipe.
Well, she was Puerto Rican.
Okay, that's dope.
And now I'm not happy that there's a reason why she did it. Like, I thought she just did it, but
what'd you do?
Maybe that's what's happening to other folks that can't make the switch. They're like, no, I always loved fried everything. Because now I'm not even huge on fried stuff. I like it, but I'm not huge
cook
on
fried things. I'm like, fried for what? I can just saute it or bake it. Why do I need to fry? I'm killing it at that point. Like, it's already a piece of, like, it's mushroom. If you fry it, it's going to shrivel up. Yeah. That's the way I look at things typically. But that's so true. Like, when it comes to, especially taste buds too, I'll tell you to try again in like 5-6 years. Just come back around to
I haven't tried olives since I was like 8. So maybe I need to, but isn't it a grape? Or what does it come from? No, grapes are raisins, right?
Yeah.
Olives are just olives?
I think it's just olives.
Okay. I was hoping to talk myself.
Scientifically, maybe.
I was trying to talk myself into liking them. Well, because like I like cucumbers, but I don't like pickles. So I was trying to like bridge the gap. But
and did you know cucumbers are or pickles are just a pickled cucumber?
Yeah.
And I was like, I just discovered that like maybe months ago. So sorry for my excitement on that.
No.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, I made pickles for the first time. They weren't for me, like, because I don't usually eat them. But
I feel you.
It's funny what you fall in love with on the healthy side.
It's beautiful.
You make all your smoothies yourself too, mostly?
Yes, I typically do, because paying $12 or $13 for a smoothie is not my cup of tea.
It happened to me a couple years ago when I first got into it.
Yeah.
I started going to Organic Squeeze, and it only took me about a month. I was like, all right, this is cool. Because they were good, but $12 or $13, and then you're doing, once or twice a day, and then a month goes by, you're like, hey, that's like $700.
That's a good amount of money.
You're like, for smoothies?
For smoothies?
So now we make smoothies at home, and then you can make bigger ones, or
you could put some hemp seeds and not be charged $1 for it.
Just put in a
sprinkle. Exactly. Trust me. I'm on that way. I'm like, hey, if you're going to charge me $1, I need the full teaspoon or tablespoon. What are you doing? But I'm like, I'm not going to like try to manage someone. I'm just going to make it at home.
The only time we do it is when we're traveling, which obviously you're not going to make it at home when you're traveling. Sure. But
even then I'm like, I'm paying this $12 for a smoothie.
Oh, we search. But you got to find a place. We were in San Diego and found a really good place. And it was like liter size for like $8.
Yes.
I thought that was really reasonable.
Heck yeah. It's like, it's just fruit. Like, don't do that to me. Do not do that to me. But again, it's getting comfortable making things at home for myself. I'm usually pulling up to consultations with a bowl of something, a bowl of salad.
I got my lunchbox right here.
I know, I already know.
So I keep the snacks because I noticed the healthier I got, anytime I slacked on it, it affected me more. And not in a negative way where it's like, we'll see, you're being healthy and it's coming with side effects. Like, no, I'm just so precise that it's like, I need fuel now.
When you know.
Because you're not used to just, or you're used to just cramming. Right. But now you're like, no, I eat at these times.
Even like the moment like I'll think about eating something bad, my stomach starts to turn. Mm-hmm. I'm like, dang, okay, I'll go home and cook. Fine.
Yeah, I barely like sour candy. My wife did get some healthy ones the other day, healthier. Yeah. And I tried a couple and I liked them. But it used to be like an addiction. Yeah. I would just want to go smoke and then grab 2 or 3 packs of Sour Patch. Yeah. And just eat 4 of them at a time. That's you're like, crazy. All these flavors.
Yeah. And not even like, really tasting it.
No, just your mouth is damn near going raw because you're eating sugar. But it was amazing. And then now I'm like, nah, I won't eat that.
Crave it. Because it's cravings. Mm-hmm. And that's essentially what it is. Because a lot of times like, when we're eating these processed foods and candies and stuff like that, we're creating a reliance essentially on it. So those cravings are coming from that unhealthiness. And that's where you
like
start
needing that other boost.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's like, more. It's like, it's an addiction, literally. Sugar is just as bad as a drug. Like, it is a drug. And so.
What was your worst, you think? Because I'll say mine was probably Reese's or Sour Patch Kids. For it?
Hot Cheetos.
Yuck. But that's the struggle.
Did you just yuck me?
No, not you.
Wait, what did you say? What did you mention now about it? About the Hot Cheetos?
Oh, they're tough.
Oh, yeah, they're, man.
No, I liked them, but my my nephews love them so much that it got me off them. They're like, no, I want all these hot chips. Yeah. I'm like, no, you can't eat those every day.
Right. You're like looking at a little kid, like, are you really doing that? And then again, you start looking to the background of things and they're talking about, they cause stomach ulcers. And I'm like, yo, what? I used to eat, like, throw back a bag of hot Cheetos every day. And then they got like the spicier ones and stuff like that. So then I started
That's so funny. It's always something.
It's always something.
It just gets a hold of you.
And it was hot Cheetos. It's crazy for me. But on that same wave of learning to go like more plant-based and holistic, there are certain foods that feed certain triggers or traumas, essentially. Okay. So like spicy foods soothe essentially like anger. If you're angry, I want something spicy. And that's soothing essentially what's like reacting or happening inside your body, your mind or whatever at that time. Sweet foods like ice cream and things like that, it's comforting. So if I'm sad, I want some ice cream. And so a lot of times when we're, again, present with like how we are feeling and like what we're going through, it helps us make better decisions when it comes to choosing certain foods. That's true. Then I realized I was dealing with like a lot of trauma growing up as a kid. So I was always angry, essentially like internally angry.
I never realized that. That's crazy.
And so it's like I'm always eating hot foods. And you may have someone who's always eating bread. That's another thing that's like more comforting and stuff like that. So
I'm definitely a bread guy.
Ones. It's really dope when you look into it. You're like, oh, wow. So it's mainly just like I always come back to this being present. And like even before I go and buy something, I'm like, okay, do you really need that? Is that really going to feed you? Is that going to get you like the nutrients you need? Is it going to? It's
funny. You think you'd be overthinking, but it's actually real life. Like we'll be sitting there in the grocery store and it's like, I don't like those 2 ingredients. And like sometimes you'll just like compromise on certain things. Like I told you on certain ones, absolutely. I'm like, all right, I compromise there.
Forget it. Right.
But there's a lot of times you'll flip it and you're like, And honestly, I'm happy. I ride my motorcycle a lot to appointments. Yeah. So sometimes I'm not as well prepared as I usually am in the car.
Right. That makes sense.
And I'm actually happy when I find something simple at the gas station as far as like a protein bar. That's usually the only thing you can get because you don't want to get their fruit because you don't know what it is. But you can usually find 1 or 2 things simple. I'm like, I'm happy I can find it. But the fact that I have to look is crazy.
People hate me. Like they're like, I had someone go pick me up some water and it wasn't the water that I asked them to get me. So I turned it around. He said, see, I can't hang out with you. You're reading the ingredients on water. I said, exactly. Most people don't. That's something we don't think about. We assume that all of our water sources are the same because why wouldn't they? They're supposed to give us fuel. But a lot of times they have added like minerals in there and stuff like that, but they're artificial minerals. And so that's like a whole other spiel. But I'm like,
What's your favorite water?
Right now, like if I'm going the cheap route, Ozarka. If I'm going like the more bougie route, I'm going to do like the Mountain Valley. You probably see me like holding those glasses all the time. That shit just gets expensive when you're holding those glasses all the time.
32 for the 12 pack.
So you know.
I've been on these Essentials even though.
Pretty good too, yeah.
I wish they were glass.
Yeah.
And Mountain Valley's good because it's local. kind of Arkansas.
Yes, absolutely. But I actually thought about doing something again, like the holistic viewpoint of it, doing something with the bottles. I have a bunch of bottles in my shed right now.
Yeah, but there's only so much you can do.
I know.
Because we were collecting them too for those terracottas that you can pour, like, it's like a cone and you stick it in the grass, in your garden.
Yeah.
Flip the water bottle over. And the mountain valleys are good because they're 1 liter, so it'll last like 2 days.
Right.
But there's only so many.
Smart, for sure.
There's only so many.
So I was thinking about like making them into like manifestation jars for like future clientels. And so I would like paint it and put my intention behind it, maybe drop a crystal in there.
That's cool.
And then just give it out to people that way.
That's cool.
So I was like, I got to do something. But I have so many. And that was like one thing that stopped me from buying them. So now I'd like typically do Ozarka. If I'm going to the gas station, Ozarka for sure. Ozarka. Coconut water is another way that I go as well.
I love coconut water. But there's a rabbit hole on that too of like which ones to go with. It's so crazy.
It's annoying.
Sometimes I do compromise on the coconut water. I'm like, all right, stop, be better. Get this other one.
Right.
Because that one can't be right. But like I didn't even like the pulp ones at first. I had to wean myself into that. I'm like, you should get the pulp ones because it's more.
Yeah, exactly. Less of a process that's been taken to get it to where it needs to be.
It's funny that you have to think about that with everything though. But tying it into real estate, do you think it keeps you not playful, but do you think it keeps your mind clear to where you can be yourself in the transaction because you're not having these, I don't want to use a super negative word for it, but bad food or whatever it may be.
For sure.
You're like more clear?
Absolutely. Like even just like a full
it's
day of showings. There you go. I got a full day of showings and then get home and I'm ready to do something. I'm like, wait, is that am I okay? Like, why am I still excited about the day? Like, and it's 7 o'clock at night and I just showed 12 houses. What is going on? And I love that aspect of it. I'm more sharper. People are asking me questions. Oh, okay, I know exactly what you're asking. I know.
Instead of hitting those slug times where you're like, really, you eat and you're about to die. Because that's the worst, especially in the heat. You want to like eat just enough, but that stuff's clean.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
It really it helped me show up sharper for my clients. And that's what I'll always mention, like when I'm posting about food and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm doing this to show up better for you. Because if I didn't, I'd be angry, or I was always a happy person again, but like also just like dealing with the aftermath of what I may have eaten that day. And that was like my biggest thing for it. So yeah, just having a sharper mind.
Just being bloated is not cool either.
It's not, especially for women.
Oh, I'm sure. I must just be sensitive because I don't like it either. I'm like,
I'm like, bloated for real? Like, don't do. I get mad when I get bloated now. I'm like, you ate the wrong thing again with pairings and stuff.
What helps you with the bloating? Teas?
Teas.
Which one?
Ginger teas. Anything that's calming. Anything that's like a spice.
So the chamomile, you said?
Chamomile, lavender, ginger, black tea, like chai tea. I love chai tea.
So you don't mind the caffeine in it?
I typically stay away from them. Like
so you get the uncaffeinated ones? Because black tea and chai can be kind of caffeinated.
Makes sense. Yes, sir. But yeah, they have like nutmeg, ginger, clove and stuff like that. So it's like naturally, I guess.
The ginger you like to slice or grind?
So I've been doing it both. Yeah, so like what I'll do is I'll grate the skin off, but I notice it doesn't taste as potent without the skin. So I just started steeping the skin with it. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, I like both. So
I still grate it and then I toss the skin in.
Or I'll add like in a smoothie. Then I'll grate it at that point. So I don't want to chew on it, like on the skin.
What about garlic teas? Have you done those?
I haven't. But
it's pretty cool.
I usually do like a
You're surprised how good it is because it's kind of funky at first.
That's interesting.
Because you know garlic's like potent.
Absolutely.
So you take a sip and you're like, but then you drink it again. You're like, I like it.
Yeah,
you gotta get over the pulp because just like the coconut water, I didn't like there being chunks in it.
Excuse me.
But it's actually you're fine. It's actually good.
Yeah.
Like I did some garlic fermented honey.
Yeah.
Have you done that?
Whoa, you said garlic fermented honey?
You haven't done that?
No.
Okay. And I'm not like just way ahead because you've been giving me a lot of game, but get the most cost effective place would probably be Trader Joe's because you can get a pack of 3 of the garlic.
Okay.
And it's organic. It's like $2.
Yeah.
Get like 2 of those, so 6.
Okay.
They crush them. I like to poke them with a toothpick. It's kind of more monotonous, but they're not smushed.
Right.
And then they just got pores.
Okay.
Fill up the glass jar, the little mason jar. I used a pint size. Filled it up like 3/4 with garlic and then topped it off with organic honey. Interesting. And then the first couple weeks, you burp it like once a week. You burp it and flip it over.
Okay.
But then after that, you just leave it in there.
Okay.
You can leave it for a long time.
This one I'm using it on.
So at first, I was just using it as like like an enhancer for yourself, just like a spoonful.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, yeah.
What's crazy though is the longer it ferments, the better it tastes. So when I first started doing it, I was like, you almost like have a really bad aftertaste. But I did it the other day because I forgot about it for like a month.
Yeah.
And I tried some the other day because my migraines, I was like, dang, that's actually kind of good. So I did 2 or 3 spoonfuls.
Like that, yeah.
But yesterday we did a ribeye. We buy from a local farmer. And we did a ribeye with basil dried from the garden. And then that garlic honey. It was actually pretty good. Yeah. So you would do the same with like some mushrooms or something. It'd be nice.
You just gave me an idea. That sounds really dope.
The garlic honey's nice.
Like garlic honey roasted mushroom. Like what?
The garlic honey's good for your, like soothing your throat as well.
Absolutely.
I actually saw you could do it with onions too. You know those cowboy tricks where they put onions in their socks? So you can do that with that jar the same way you do the honey.
I've heard about that.
The garlic cloves.
Potatoes apparently another thing too that you can put in your.
Do you cut them open?
I think you cut them open and you soak them in, I think, just water. And then you put them in your toast.
My friend, he's kind of country, and he was the one that told me about the onions. I had saw it on YouTube from some cowboy short or something. But he actually did it. He said they came out kind of like black. Not dark black, but no, the onions. Because they're soaking up all that stuff.
Oh, that makes sense.
But no, I believe in it's not even believing because the stuff just works. But I remember when I messed up something on my foot, I would soak it in turmeric paste, and my foot was yellow for like 3 weeks, but it seemed to heal. And I messed up my pinky and it healed. It's not as fast. Like that's what I've noticed with some stuff is like you can take a heavy pain reliever and it's quicker, but it's not as long.
Right.
To where if you do this and deal with it a little bit, it heals it through instead of just hiding it. I thought of it with my dog. My Jack Russell pulled his shoulder out randomly, and we didn't know. We thought it was something with his neck because he was like froze. Oh. So we were giving him painkillers that were prescribed. Yeah. And he would feel good for a little bit, and then it'd come back. Go back. Then I took him to a chiropractor, and she popped his shoulder, and then he was all good.
I've been seeing videos of those of the dogs going. That is the cutest thing.
It was hilarious because it almost seemed like he was gonna die. Yeah. Like you're like, this is crazy.
When it happened, like as far as like him
when he would freak out. Yeah. Like, because he just woke up one day and was like that. We didn't know what happened. Yeah. But then when he started, when we just went to one session and she popped it back in.
Wow.
And then he was just normal. So it kind of made me think of what we do with the yoga, the stretching, the walking, the diet.
I call them preventative actions. As far as like when you know, people are like, oh, I'm old. You're 25 years old and you're talking about you're old. Your knees are cracking. It's because you don't stretch. You have air pockets that are just building up and they're gradually getting bigger and bigger and then now they're turning into stones. And now you're aching. Like that's what that is. Stretch. Like please stretch.
When you do the morning, how long is it for the yoga?
Typically like 20 to 30 minutes anywhere because then I'll throw in some meditation in there as well. Okay. Just saying some affirmations, how I want my day to go, how I want week to flow and things like that. And that's typically like what starts my day. Like awesome. I'm gonna claim it right now. I'm not gonna allow anything to come into my aura, into my presence, and that's going to ruin that. And if it does, I'm going to take it as a lesson. And that's essentially like what I affirm every day.
I think that's huge too, to be okay with kind of what happens.
You know?
Because you can't control it, but you can control how you react. And I'm not the best at it, but you notice it in those moments where you're like, oh, well, that was meant for
catch yourself. Yeah. Even sometimes like when I'm like, like earlier when the man cut me off, I was like, what the? Like I went ballistic, but I was like, again, you can only control how you react because he could be having a crazy day himself, and I can't control that.
Yeah, this lady zoomed in my lane, and then, kind of whipped in front of me. I pulled over to go past and whipped in that one, so I had to get back over. And I just did like the courtesy honk, kind of just to let her know there's people around. And she was just flipping me off, and I'm just like, dang.
People on the road.
Yeah, and then it was just some lady screaming the F word, and I'm like, I'm glad I'm not that mad.
You know? That's how I look at it every time. I'm like, they must be really having a terrible day. And all thing I can do is smile. So they could meet me at that and be like, damn, I really just... That way they can see what they're doing because we're all reflections of one another. So it's like when you see me smiling at your outrageousness, I want you to be able to go back to that grounding and just be okay. Like you're okay. I promise you're okay.
It's crazy how serious it seems though at the time. But you had mentioned something earlier when we were talking and you said, you're huge on women empowerment. Is that all across the board, but you focus in it in real estate, or what does that look like for you?
So, really just, again, seeing that women have some sort of routine that's keeping them in flow. Because like you have like the masculine energy, you have the feminine energy. Okay. as a woman in real estate, a lot of times you're going to have to be in your masculine because it's go, 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 go. There's a lot of things going on. And so it's giving women those tools, those practices and things like that that can help them keep and stay in the flow. And when it comes to tools, there's things like when it comes to like our cycle, actually knowing what it means, when it's coming, how long it's going to be, what foods to eat while we're doing it, what herbs to drink and things like that. To again, keep us in the remaining of the flow of whatever it is that we're doing, any type of industry. I feel like anything that has to do with work is masculine. Like,
how do you balance going between the two?
That's a really
because that's hard because there's a lot of women that are in the masculine side and they're like tough women and they're always like working through it. And I feel like sometimes they'll hit like a burnout period and want to flip back. Do you alternate semi-healthy you like, or do you find yourself like go until you're burnt out on the masculine side and then you flip, or what?
It's like I can almost catch it. Like when I know
when it's about to go.
Yeah, like especially when like dealing with other maybe realtors and stuff like that. I'm like, that's too much. That's too masculine for me. I'm not gonna argue with you right now. I'm gonna leave you be right. I'm gonna hang up now. Okay, I'll talk to you when you be like kind of like that. Like I kind of have to hold people by their hand. And again, I can only control like how I react. And so there's been times where I've blown up and, maybe have went into my masculine and things like that, where I'm working too hard or I gotta get this deal done. But it's like, again, that routine brings me right back to, okay, we're back in the flow. Now, how do we approach this? So I feel like it's just realizing it and catching it. I don't let it go too long. Okay. Because again, I had that experience of watching my mom and I'm like, okay, no, you're becoming Tracy. You need to backpedal a little bit and figure out, like, find your flow is what I call it. Okay. And it's lighting an incense. You saw me walk in with to bring me back to that calm homeostasis feeling of just everything's going to be okay. I know it sounds like really cliche, but it's like that's what when we're meant to be. Just things are supposed to flow to us. Yeah. We're not supposed to be out here, hustling and grinding all the time. And so it's like really finding.
So on the women's side, it's supposed to flow more inward?
Absolutely. Like it comes times where I'm like, man, I can call 30 people, 600 people today and not one person is ready. And in that moment, I'm just like, you know what? No, I'm going to allow it to come to me. I got to call it like, hey, I got 2 buyers for you. I'm like, I just did X1. I just went hard for these 300 clients that I didn't even get to, actually convert. But now I just got something just flow to me just as easily as far as like not putting as much work in. I know it sounds bad because I feel like they're like, so you mean be lazy? But it's like, no, getting those affirmations help me as well because I know it's going to come eventually. And if I'm staying in the flow, if I'm hitting my numbers, I'm doing my yoga, things like that, I know it's going to just essentially it's going to come at some point because I deserve it. And that's just one thing that really helped me with that. It's tough. I'm not even going to hold you because it is because again it's real estate, and so I had to. My biggest thing right now is finding a way to express that to women that are in real estate. Taking those times for yourselves, having the spa days, and it's the same thing for men as well, because you all deserve to be in your flow as well, because y'all don't have to always be protector, go grind, get the money. And so it's just really helping women, but also everybody understand that there's a flow state that we're supposed to be in.
And those women in real estate that you talk with, is that something you have some that you talk to regularly, or is it just someone you feel you need to give to then?
Typically it's like a consultation. That's typically how it goes. Like, what's your day-to-day look like?
Oh, you do this for real?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Yes.
My bad.
So like when I put holistic entrepreneur on as my like one of my expertise, that's typically like what I'm working with is women directly, and we're finding.
So you have consultations for that,
and we're finding different practices that may work for you. Okay, you worked this time to this time. Okay, at what point can you squeeze in or fit in? Not even squeeze in, fit in or place in.
Why is fit in better?
I feel like because you don't want to feel like you're always forcing something.
Squeeze is forced.
Absolutely. And so I feel like you want to be able to, again, flow. Everything's a flow state for me. And it's how do you find the best ways to practice those daily? Okay. Daily, because it's not just a one and done thing. It's like consistently journaling, lighting candles, drinking some wine while you're cooking your meal, using intentional herbs and spices when you are cooking. Cooking more than you are eating out, because that's a lot of things that I was doing when I first became a realtor. I'm like, damn, it's easy to just stop at the side of the road, get something, and then keep going.
But there's something nice about eating something you cooked and then noticing there's only, even if you do 20 ingredients in something at the house, it's different than
watched it go in there.
Yeah, like a Chick-fil-A sandwich is like 40 ingredients, and it's a chicken sandwich. It's like, huh?
Chicken.
Like chicken, breading, bread, pickles, and there's 40 ingredients of words I can't say. So that's...
Exactly.
How long have you been doing that with the ladies in real estate?
So I started when I first got in, because again, I was watching my mom.
So as soon as you got into real estate, that was your goal?
It was my goal. And I was like, well, okay, slow down. You got to get more established in real estate. And then I started to notice women would just come to me. And I'm like, oh, and they're asking me questions. I'm like, I wish they would stop asking me all these questions. I'm like, no, this is what you asked for. You wanted to do this. You did these things to become that example. And so, of course, they're going to be more drawn to you and ask you those questions.
Interesting.
So for now, like consistently, probably a year.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And now I'm going to like focus more so on like massage therapists. So now we're getting down to the nitty and gritty, because like a lot of times we're dealing with maybe, stuck trauma or issues. It may be a certain
so you're talking about you doing massages?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir. And making it a whole experience though as well. So again, doing those consultations, but like after you do your consultation, I figure out maybe what you're dealing with, and then I put my hands on you, heal you, and then you keep on putting.
Like if you have tension in certain spots.
Exactly. Yes, sir. Because again, like even just like small things throughout the day, like making sure you're sitting up and breathing right, and doing your arm circles and rolling your shoulders. Those are small things, but they make a big difference. They make a huge difference. And
who heals you besides yourself? Since you're doing it for everyone else, there's got to be a good way to.
See, you didn't have to hit me with that. Because I'm still trying to figure that out right now. It's tough. It is tough, because then I'm like, I don't want people to do that for me. I can do it for myself. I'm independent. But it's like, no, again, that's the flow. Women receive. And so.
I feel like women give so much too.
We do. I have a sister. She's a friend. I call her my sister though. She feeds into me. Like she's more on like a, I wouldn't say religion. There's a type of religion, it's like the Yoruba religion, and she's focused more on like their exact practices. So I'm always like learning from her, and she's always giving me really good advice and things like that. So I feel like having a tribe of women, or just a tribe of people in general, is what truly heals me. So someone I can hang out with, and we can, feed off of each other, as opposed to talking to someone and they're only just getting information from me. So I feel like she's truly that individual that feeds back into me.
Yeah, it's interesting how crappy some conversations can be. Not just the ones you're giving stuff to, because that may be your job at that time to give. Right. But I just mean like real shallow conversations are super boring.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought there was something wrong with me. But it's actually, I just value my time highly. But not in a way that I don't want to spend it. Right. It's like I just don't like...
wisely.
Yeah, it's like, this isn't fun anymore.
Right.
Or maybe when we were younger, we were forced to push through.
Right.
To where now it's like, I don't like this, I'm done.
Time. Exactly. Because even like this weekend, I hung out with a friend, and I love her. But like a lot of conversations we were having, I was like, I'm always like a progressive thinker. It's like, you're going to tell me something that may be an issue. I'm not going to just leave it at that. Like, yeah, you're right. That's terrible. I'm going to give you a solution to that. And so I'm like, am I being a know-it-all? Am I being annoying? But it's like, no, if you want to see friendships last and also grow through like what you all are going through, like that's the biggest thing. You have to be able to have a progressive mindset, and you can't just leave it at that. Like, oh, I'm mad at so-and-so because she did that. You're like, she did what? And it's like, no, she did that, but maybe because you maybe gave her a pass to do that before. And maybe you should do that again. And they're like, you know what, Jonae? I'm mad at you for saying that, but you're right. And that's like essentially like how a lot of conversations became mundane to me. I'm like, I feel like you said, like, is something wrong with me? Am I doing too much? But it's just experiences. You've seen it, or you know it for what it is. And you like always say like the matrix view of it. Like, okay, yeah, you're in that. Take yourself out of that and figure out how do you like solve that issue or that problem that you may be dealing with.
Yeah, for me, really it was noticing like the normal going out wasn't fun. And that was early, because it really wasn't fun to me in college either. Because we started early. There was some clubs we were able to get into at like 16. So there's like the early days. But even 21 to 24, when it was more of a higher time, where it was happening a lot, I was like, why am I always bored? And then now I just don't do that at all. But then you think like of some of your friends or loved ones that still do that. And you're surprised that they find that valuable, but then you're also not trying to micromanage them.
I know.
It's interesting.
It's tough. It's really tough. And I feel like those that truly value you and the information that you have to pass on in themselves, they'll be like, okay, I can see it from that point of view. Because like even when I went out to the club this past weekend, I was like, these are the same people I saw maybe a month ago, and I know they're chilling here every single weekend. I'm like,
that's crazy.
What are we doing? What exactly are we doing? And so I realized that I value my daytime. And after 9, 10 o'clock, why are we going out? What does that even mean? Like, I want to go to a jazz club and maybe sip a glass of wine and then go home.
Yeah, because you want to... Something I didn't do when I was younger that I do now is I want to go home with enough time to get ready for sleep instead of just like going to sleep.
That part. Because your AM routine is just the same as your night routine.
I need a little bit of time.
For sure. To decompress, yeah.
My wife and I, for our birthday, went and had drinks. And for us, having drinks was 3 drinks apiece, which was plenty.
Yeah, of course.
Which was plenty.
Course, yeah.
But we got home at like 7
p.m.?
Yeah. Oh, that's what so we went out from like 4 to 7.
Oh,
and then
that's like prime time.
Prime time.
I love that.
And then when we got home, we actually fell asleep really early. We fell asleep at like 8:45. But when we woke up the next day, we didn't feel as draggy as coming home at 11 and trying to go to sleep at 12.
Absolutely.
So you wouldn't think it'd have that many lasting effects. Now, that's mainly alcohol, which is going to do that to you. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it's the same when you eat bad for 6 days or you deal with people you shouldn't have dealt with for a long part. Mm-hmm. So when you are helping these women, how do you find yourself helping them but not giving too much to where you're like depleted? Do you have like a cutoff?
Typically, yes. It was like, okay, we have an hour, and that's what can you tell me in an hour? Journal what you're dealing with as well. That way we're not, so you can also.
So there's not a lot of filler time. It's like you come in, I've got a straight hour of info.
Mm-hmm. Like, what did you deal with today? How did you respond to that? Okay, maybe we're going to work on that next time as far as like, how would you like to respond to where you feel more comfortable with how you left the situation? Okay, cool. Jot that down. All right, next. What did you eat today? Well, that explains why you reacted that way, because you were eating. So it's like it flows together. But it's like, don't ask me too much because I want you to be able to go within as well. I don't want to do it for you.
Wow.
I want you to be able to ask me those questions because you kind of formulated them yourself. And so, yeah.
So besides the empowerment not besides, like it's not important, but beside your main thing where you're helping them just in their daily life, you said it's mainly realtors that you're talking to. Has it grown to just anybody now?
That's where I'm trying to or that's where I'm in the process of scaling right now to figure out what is my exact niche. Because at first it was real estate, which was perfect. Because again, it was my mom.
That's such a range of women that you're dealing with, though, right?
I know.
20s, 30s, 60s.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And so, really, it's more so I'm focused on just women in general as far as like entrepreneurship that are working as far as like that back end of the system. Like you have to have your systems in place and start from scratch, and day to day you're having to do things because you're starting a business from scratch. And so it's like doing those processes now, that way, as opposed to later. Okay. Like paying catch up because, now I got my business in order. Now let me take care of myself. No. It's the same thing. Absolutely. Yes, sir. So that was like my biggest thing for women. So like I said, entrepreneurship is like really like my focus now, main focus.
That's pretty cool.
Just women that are working for themselves.
And then to still have people that help you is nice. Because like I said, most of the time it's someone just giving and not getting.
Man, I didn't even realize it for myself. Sometimes I'd be like, should I say something? Like, I'm talking to you and you haven't asked me how my day was. And still hanging out with that person and still hanging out. And then I get home and I'm depleted and I can't even talk to my dang dog. And like, he's not even speaking to me, but it's like stuff like that. I'm like, no, this is not a relationship that I want to continue to keep going. And it helped me create boundaries really within like just relationships in general, but also within real estate and stuff like that. And I'm like, you have to create boundaries.
What do you do with the boundaries for real estate?
With the real estate?
Yeah, like what's an example of a boundary?
I know it sounds crazy, but not responding right away, honestly. Like
even if you can?
If I can. Like if I'm in the middle of doing something, like just 1 second. Because I have a habit of, okay, they just called me to ask for this. Let me search this while I'm also writing down this. And then, they just texted me. So let me respond. Just one thing at a time. That's really like my biggest thing, like that boundary of one task. Yeah. One time. Even if it takes you 5-10 minutes, just do that one task. Don't try to multitask and do multiple different things. Although we as women have that ability, but it's just like really being present in just that one thing and being like, okay, it took you 2 seconds to respond. Now you can move on to something else. So that was like a boundary for me for sure. Because
I was surprised at how many text messages you can get in real estate. Like, and I always laugh because when I see people post their, they usually are screenshotting on something on their main screen that's motivating them. But my eyes always go to how many messages they have. And I'm like, see, they're in real estate. This says 980. What? Like, because I go through mine once a month and I'm like, how do I have 600? And then you go through and it's showings or unneeded stuff. But if you responded to everything, you'd probably like go nuts.
So crazy.
So it's really interesting how to balance. Because like I said, sometimes you think you're not doing enough. But then you got to think, like you said, you were saying the long game. Like it's not 2 years, it's 5, 10, 15, 20, like your mother. But you go in, like just break it down to a week. You have all these productive days plus days of taking care of yourself mixed in through it all. Over time, that's going to compound better than like going hard for 3 months, even though it looks like that's the way to go.
Right.
Because I see a lot of people that just work all the time, and I admire it because some people have other goals that it's easier to, like my goals are very different compared to someone that's just focused on like how many sales I can get this year.
Absolutely.
So for them to hit theirs, they have to work a certain pace. My goals come from a balance perspective where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to bust my tail for this, but I'm also going to take these days for this time. So I didn't think it was as important until I started talking to people like yourself where they're high performing, but then they're like also high performing on their self too.
Absolutely.
And then for you to do a whole nother business on top of real estate that's just based on mental and spiritual and physical growth, that's a job. Like that's a huge job. So you would think you'd get burnt out, but then you also balance that. We're like, no, not too much on one side. Do you ever like, are those resets more of those trips or taking personal time?
Honestly, truly personal time. And I typically take like a half a day out the week that I'm like, okay, I'm not doing anything. I may just focus on cleaning my house or just cleansing my house, things like that, cooking a meal, getting prepared for the week. But it's like, okay, really making it intentional to choose those times. That's what's big for me, honestly. Yeah.
So does your personality come across in your sales process too, where it's so relaxing but informative that they just feel like they're getting led?
It's so funny. Like even when I get on the phone with like, even like for clients, yes. But even like when I'm on the phone with like more like men and stuff like that, I even hear their tone change. Cause I'm not just like, loud. I'm not gonna say like all women are loud and things like that, but they'll get on the phone. I'm like, I always greet people with peace. And they're like, oh, hello. I'm like, how are you doing today? I don't just jump right into it and things like that, which I know it's like, get to the freaking point. We don't want to do all that. But then the people, they
well, you want to balance it.
Say it again.
You want to balance it. You want
Absolutely.
to genuinely ask a question and then go into business. I think that's good.
Absolutely. Oh, wonderful. Thank you for asking. Hey, I was calling about such and such and such and such. And also, again, being that progressive and solution based, because like I'm not going to bore you with the nitty and gritty. I'm going to get to the point. But I also want to know genuinely how you doing today before I just get to it, because you may be having a bad day. And now I know to approach you a different type of way. Like, hey, I really hope that gets better for you. It's just being intentional because we're all human. Yeah, we're all working for, to make that next dollar. But it's like I want us to truly know that someone else is genuinely cares.
Yeah, because you don't realize like well, you do realize, but those things you're helping clients with in the real estate realm are very like high importance. Absolutely. Not only for you, but for them more importantly, because they're doing it twice in their life and you're doing it 70 times a year or whatever it is,
Right.
You're knocking out all these transactions. So you forget, but I think that's one of the beautiful things about our job is that you're able to hold it together and make it look easy for them, even if there's a lot of back and forth.
Right.
I mean, I closed one recently where it was a lot of back and forth, a lot of working through little hurdles, but always having a solution.
Absolutely.
And even when there's not necessarily, even when there's not one right now, it may just be part of the course to go through this. Like, no, this is normal. We're going to work to here.
Yes, sir.
So I think
it takes patience. I was telling, like, this is a story I've been telling because I have a transaction that's going on right now where the woman purchased her home through me. 4 or 5 months later, house blew up.
Dang.
Like,
blew up.
No one was like hurt, thank God. House blew up. So she no longer has a house. Well, now her and her husband are going through a divorce. So she's trying to get that situated before she can sell. It took us 8 months. We're still waiting to close this house. It took us 8 months for her to finally get her divorce decree. And every single time I'm like, what is this teaching me? What is this teaching me? It has to be teaching me something. And if it's not teaching me something, it's teaching her something. So every time we get on the phone, I'm like, what's going on? Are you not dealing with X, Y? Because this is taking way too long. You may need to consider something. She's like, you know what? You were right. I learned a lesson in the midst of this. And as soon as she learned that lesson, something else, like another milestone was happening for us to move the process along. I'm like, crazy. We never know. We never know unless we ask. Because we just assume everyone's doing okay. And it's okay, yeah, let me figure it out. But it's like, no, figure out what's going on at the core that may be stopping this process from moving forward as it should be. Because like you wouldn't be able to enjoy that money had you still been dealing with this divorce. Because there was like there was a way around it as far as like giving the husband some money and stuff like that. And she was like, no. But then she's like, okay, that's fine. And as soon as she said that, another milestone happened. I said, you see, you're opening up more. You're becoming more, I say, aligned, essentially, like when it comes to like the chakras and all that, being open to just like your heart chakra, your throat chakra, speaking your mind, giving and showing appreciation for people as far as like the heart chakra, creativity. So what are you doing on the back end as this is going on? Are you just focused on this, or are you still focused on, creating a life for yourself? Yeah. And so it was a lot of back end things, but I realized I was like, okay, every single time something like tremendous happened in either of our lives, another milestone would happen, or we would get further in the transaction. And now we're finally here.
You find yourself, once you made that mindset shift, getting a lot more business?
Absolutely.
Like it started becoming more consistent, more on like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm not doing enough. And then you're really busy. Like in a good way, not just busy, but you're like consistently busy, moving the needle.
Absolutely.
And you're like, oh, well, I feel like I've been slacking, but all these are lined up. So did more blessings come when you were?
Absolutely, for sure. And I was able to see them as that as well.
Okay, yeah,
I wasn't
that's
just
huge.
Focused on, okay, now it's a check, it's a paycheck. But like, no, this is a milestone for someone else. They're buying a home. Like for one, they have someone to lay their head, and they're like, this is ownership. So looking at it completely different, and just like the whole like picture of it. As far as like the whole situation or just the transaction, I call it journeys. I never say transaction or process. I say it's a journey. We're going through a journey together, and I would love to represent you during this journey and be your confidant, essentially, because we're basically therapists for these people.
And your man, I mean, a lot of people know this, but as a real estate agent, or even on the off-market side, if you're just, the main person in contact with the seller or buyer, there's so many people you're managing, and you're managing all these adults. So it's not like you have a ton of tasks necessarily, but you do have a lot of responsibility.
Right.
Because the other ones in the transaction, and I may just be assuming for myself, but they're more specified. Like you have a lender, an appraiser, an inspector, a title agent.
Right.
And then you have you where they're like, yeah, you're the paperwork side and the handling the showings and all. Yeah, but it's like, no, I got to manage all these other people plus my client plus the other realtor and keep it on track, because there's been plenty of times when you're not managing those correctly, something comes up instead of not when you're necessarily in control, because you're not governing over those people.
Right.
But being able to communicate to each piece, it's crazy how much it can help. Like obviously communication helps, but I found even when I had tough transactions, I was cool with each person involved, even if one person dropped the ball.
Right.
Or two, or whatever, or even myself, whoever it was good to be on at least good terms with each person in it. Right. And it made it
conversation
easier.
Go way better.
Yeah, instead of just being confrontational, because I've met agents, and we'll just stick on the agent side because you've had it with lenders and whoever, but on the agent side, I've had ones that are so rude or aggressive that I'm surprised that we're trying to work together. You're like,
I will never work with you again. If I see your listing, I'm going to make sure it doesn't get sent to my client.
It's just wild that some people operate that way.
Yeah.
And it could be someone that's brand new, or it's those 20, 30-year people.
Typically it's a 20, 30.
Yeah, and they're like rude. You're like, oh, this sucks. Or I used to see your name on every listing. I thought you'd be kind of cool, and you weren't.
It's like, oh, I actually got to work with you now. And
I've been pleasantly surprised. There have been some of those bigger names that I've only done one or two transactions with. And I'm like, okay, they were cool.
Yeah.
And they had a really tight process and they didn't have to do too much. I'm like, that's nice.
Yes.
And I kind of admire the ones that have a smooth process where they're like, well, here's this other person that's going to be in contact with you. Do you have this, this, and this?
That's what I'm in the process of doing, as well as hiring an assistant. Because goodness gracious, I realized I can't take it all on by myself. It's just not possible. Even when
not to grow, because there's too many small tasks. I find myself getting stuck in small tasks sometimes. And you're like, well, an addendum could be sent by anybody. But it does.
Now I have to rush home just to get it sent to you because my phone doesn't do it the right way. And I'm like, man, that's taking time out of my day, or I'll get to you 8 o'clock at night, but you need it by 5 because... And that's another thing, too, as far as like time is of the essence. But yeah, that was a big thing.
That's an interesting balance, too. The time is of the essence, because you don't want to slow something up. Right. But also, I feel like I don't want to be rushed either, where it's like, hey, we need this right now. It's like, not right now. Yeah, not right now. So I don't know. I've found a balance in that, because I feel like sometimes you'll go where you're being not lazy, but you're being way more loose, and then you're tightening up way too much.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you got to go in the middle, but
and it's knowing
hard
which
not to
ones,
get
like you
worked
said,
up.
like are actually needed at this time. If it's 5 o'clock and you tell me you need it right now, what is it going to do? The title company's closed. So like, if I even have that gets to you at 5:05, they're not going to do anything with it.
Well, and if you send it to them, to your client, they're going to sign it in the morning anyway, or something like that.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
Absolutely.
On the since you are, a little over 3 years, what's some of your wins you think that have really made you feel good? Not that you had a big closing, but things that really you feel like moved you forward in the career, like because moving you forward more into the holistic side, or moving you more forward into really connecting with your clients. What are things that make that happen? Was it just mindset? Did you come across a certain client that was easier to work with?
So one thing for sure was like delivering any type of news as quickly as you can, as far as like, well, let me say this, solving the issue before you even call your client. Because why would I even call you with this issue if I haven't even tried to figure it out? Hey, I'm just letting you know this is an issue right now. Make you worry about it, but I'm going to figure it out at the same time. No,
that's smart.
Figure it out first. And then we're going to let you know, hey, I worked it out. This is what was going on, but we're good. And I'm like, oh.
That's interesting.
Okay.
Because sometimes you want to disclose it.
I know.
Because it's news. So you're like, well, I want to disclose it because we're all in the same party. I never thought of that.
And again, those consultations help as well. Like, okay, what are you willing to deal with up front? So that way, when we're negotiating TRRs and things like that, okay, they're not willing to do this. Well, can we work out at least this? Like, come on, I know my clients are not going to really want to do this. So really finding that solution before I approach any client.
Okay.
Because then they're like, you dealt with this so great. Little did they know I was sweating back of my neck for like 5 days to figure out how this is going to work.
Yeah.
And then finally bringing them that information. That was one thing for sure. And also, again, because I worked in the bartending industry, the service industry, being able to talk to just about anybody has definitely helped me just excel. They're like, oh, you're how old? What? You've been doing this for how long? And I'm like, yeah. They're like, you're a baby. And I know people who are your age and they're not even, they can barely communicate like anything, like their needs and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh. And so that's really what helped me, is just being able to articulate myself. I feel like as well was a big thing for me.
I felt like that's definitely something I struggled with in my past years. Because I would say my most frequent job before real estate was shoe stores.
Got you. Yeah.
And I didn't realize that I got to talk to so many people.
Right.
But then real estate was such a switch that it took a while to get comfortable on that side.
I feel that, because now you're like one-on-one and I'm guiding you somewhere.
Yeah, it's not a 10.5. It's like a house. Right. So people are more, people are more abrasive in that.
Heck yeah.
And they're more, they want more precision. And then after a few times dropping the ball, you get real comfortable at just talking to folks. And that really does take you a lot further than just maybe just being a skilled agent.
Right. It's like, you like looking those scripts. We get the scripts. You're like, I wouldn't say that in a normal conversation. Like, what? So really taking it as like, okay, this is a person. I'm talking to someone who's buying, who's making a big transaction. And so how would they want to be responded to? They wouldn't want to be responded to like I'm an AI. Like, okay, so you said that? So according to really helping it flow better when it comes to personalities. That's one thing we hawk on at during our trainings is A through D. ABCD. Yes, A through D personalities. Okay. And knowing how to deal with those different personalities. And you can basically pick up on it the moment they walk in.
What's the 4?
So I know A is more like assertive.
Okay.
B, I think, was more passive. C was more, they're like a mixture of both. They're assertive and passive, essentially. They really don't know, but they're going to kind of pass off themselves as knowing. But they're really not going to tell you that they don't know, but they're going to say something like, that's not right, but let me tell you exactly what it is. Okay. And D is like, they know exactly what they're doing. They've done this multiple times. You don't got to tell them what they need. They're going to tell you what they need, and you have to. So
there's a difference between the assertive and the D?
Yes. D is more so assertive, but with experience, if that makes sense. Like assertive, you can have someone who's assertive, but they've never been through this process before. So it's like, okay, you can assert yourself, but I may have a lesson to teach you or two.
So the D is almost a better one because, and sometimes the D may not fit for some people because they may be too direct.
Exactly.
But to where since we've seen such a range, those may be easy.
Right.
But no, you just give them the info they asked for.
Exactly. That's it. You know exactly what they need when they come into that house, what they're going to ask you. So go ahead and look through the listing and figure out what they're going to ask you and have that question already answered before. And they're like, oh, she's listening to me and stuff like that. So it's always fun that way.
Women are more naturally better listeners, right?
Absolutely.
So I struggle sometimes with active listening. Is that something to where you didn't have to overcome that with your clients, or did you notice sometimes you having to really slow down with them too?
Slow down. Because, man, so again, like when you know those scripts of what responses to be had, you kind of want to talk over
Spit
them.
them out. Yeah.
And you're like, no, listen to what they just said. Okay, remember they have a daughter at home that needs to do X, Y, and Z. So mention that daughter as well. So being more, I say the word personable, really just like knowing their background and knowing what they are going through at this time of the transaction of the journey and stuff like that. That's really what helped me like slow down.
And you read books on that or just naturally?
There were some books that I read. I think there was one, I think it was like literally How to Talk to Someone or How to Talk Successfully or something like that. I can't remember. That was one book. And then also my major in college was psychology, criminology, like a psychology, but criminology focused degree. Okay. And so it was very interesting to like read books and then be like, oh, I just do that naturally.
Yeah, see, I don't think I did it naturally. I had to read on it.
Yeah.
One we read a lot was 4-2 Formula.
Okay.
That's a good one. Okay. It's like a little workbook, but it's how to be coffee worthy with your client. So how to build genuine rapport and also stay on track.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I wasn't good at that at first because you'd want to just relate.
Right.
But now when I do want to relate, something that helps me is if they don't bite on the relation, it's not slowing my process down.
Right.
If they take it, that's good because we're going to be even closer.
There you go.
If they weren't open to it, we're still progressing.
Right.
To where in the back, it would hold me back.
More about you, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, for sure. Now, sometimes I struggle with being too friendly.
Me too. Or I'll joke and they don't laugh and I'm like...
That didn't land on you well. But yeah, like to the point where I'm having clients, and not to just, air their business out, but I'm having clients who are asking me personal things or asking me for personal things. I'm like, oh, I may have overstepped that boundary that I shouldn't made you feel that comfortable enough to ask me something like that. And so
are you comfortable enough at that time to say, hey, I'm not comfortable with this interaction?
Absolutely.
And then progressing?
Mm-hmm. Like, hey, I don't think we should do that. I just feel like this is not this conversation we should be having right now. But would you like to go ahead and talk about, I did know you mentioned and just kind of bring into something else that they brought up.
And if they go with it, cool, or just sometimes they're like, well, I don't even want to continue.
Typically, it lands well. They're just like, okay, I understand. And then just keep on pushing.
Okay.
Yeah. My voice is very soft and it's also deep.
It's soft, but it's strong.
Exactly. Yeah. So the point gets across. I think so.
Yeah, you're not playing.
So, you hear me?
What struggles do you see working with other agents? Because you got the client thing pretty understood as far as how to work with them.
Yeah.
But do you notice something different with a female or a male agent? Do you see something different with someone closer to my age than like a 55-year-old male agent or female agent? Like, do you have to change anything, or does it seem to just work?
I stay true to myself for sure. It's always situational based because I've dealt with and sometimes it's microaggressions as far as like going into a house one time and like they were over their time and we actually got there a little bit late, but they were over their time. So it's like, okay, we're supposed to be here and you're not. And the agent goes, can I see your phone? And I said, I'm sorry.
For what?
He said, I just want to make sure you're an agent. I said, well, I didn't just walk into the house. I'm very sarcastic. So I'm like, oh, no. We were just walking on the side of the road.
Well, I didn't check your phone.
So it's things like that. And so I have to like take myself back, not be offended for one. Also see like.
Do you think that was someone being just a strict agent? Were they being discriminative against, like, they didn't think you looked the part? What do you think?
A lot of times looking the part. Because I'm young, I look young, and then like, and I'm talking, and like, a lot of times they assume my clients are the agents. They're like,
probably me too.
All the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, you're talking to me. Hello, I'm the agent. And so really, again, having to assert myself it was different for me.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is kind of scary. Like, people have to take me serious and stuff like that. I've had doors closed in my face. Like, as I'm walking up, she said, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm showing the house. So it's just like, because again, like my major in psychology and things like that, I know what your mindset may be as far as like seeing this young Black woman walk into a house. I get it. But I'm not going to just take it laying down. Hey, I have a client that's out there that would like to see this house. If you would kindly leave. We are here for our time. Sometimes I get a little bit irate, but it's really just meeting people where they are at and understanding, okay, they may not have meant it that way. And even if they did, I don't have to take it that way.
Yeah, you don't really care.
I don't care.
That's how it happened to me. Because at first I would get really offended.
Yeah.
And then I got into the point where I didn't care, where you're like just moving on with it. But I was just curious with that because I feel like I have a certain viewpoint of how I deal with other agents and things like that. But I wanted to see your perspective, not only for being black, but a woman and younger and good at it.
Absolutely.
Because if you sucked at it, it wouldn't be...
It'd be easy for them to bully me.
But you're good at it, and I've seen people that aren't that good at it try to bully me or try to bully someone like yourself. So it's interesting.
Always, I have parents too. So just as much as you, like, your feelings would be hurt, and your parents wouldn't want to see you upset, my parents don't want to see me upset either. So let's treat each other like we're adults, because we are. I may be a few years younger than you, but I have the backing and I have the information that can trump everything that you may even know, that you may not even know that was a thing. And so it's like really knowing the information that I come with is solid, and it comes from 15, 20 years of experience.
That's cool.
So it's like, hey, I can back it up. I'm not just talking. I'm not just guessing as I go. I know exactly what should be done and how it should be done. And I feel like that's what helps me, because I haven't dealt with this since like my first year, honestly. Like,
I haven't dealt with it a lot
at all. And so I'm like, oh, okay, it was just a learning curve for me. How do you get through this and just keep on pushing through it?
Well, I'm always happy when of course you get an agent number and it's super old, but they're cool.
Yeah.
Or when you get those ones for our MLS, it's like the 2000s and up. Those are the newer ones, and you see it, but they're cool.
Yeah.
Or they're good at their job.
Yeah.
That's always really inspiring to see that range.
Absolutely.
Because I always get aggravated when you get someone that is too in control, and then they're just kind of ruining it for everybody. So I think it's cool that you stay so conscious on it, because that goes a long way for your clients, and that's how they come back. That's why your referral started now, but in 5 years, it can only be something crazy.
For sure.
So what's next then? I know you're going to grow in real estate, but then you're also going to grow into helping more people than just agents on the holistic side?
Yes, sir. And then growing that into entrepreneurs, and I also bartend as well.
Oh, you still do?
I do private events. I have a wedding coming up this weekend, actually. Mainly weddings. I'm getting more into weddings this time, and then like private parties, like pool parties, or just.
That's cooler for you too, because it's only a specific time instead of like I do it 4 days a week.
Exactly. It makes it so, because then you can tell me ahead of time, and now I know, okay, not to schedule this, and that's 2 months in advance. Weddings are years, like literally maybe a year in advance. So great. Absolutely.
And you're able to spend social time scheduled off.
There you go. That too. And this is a perfect way to meet more leads, because why not? I'm making them drinks. Of course they're going to want to talk about real estate. So that's a fun part of it as well. And really just continue.
You're busy.
I am. And it's creatively busy. Yeah. I don't look at it as work. Like, I was excited to come here today. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I was too.
So excited. And I'm like, I get some food so I don't be hangry while I'm here. But it's because I enjoy it so much, it doesn't even seem like work.
Well, it's funny too, because something that this podcast has taught me is, yes, I've had people on. Obviously, I know everybody that I'm talking to, but there's a friend I've known forever, but then there's you who I've known for a good amount of time. But this is definitely double, triple the longest we've ever spoke. And that's something that's resonated the most, is that they're good conversations.
Absolutely.
So I think that's really enjoyable. And I always think things are meant to be, like you've been saying. Absolutely. So it must just mean that the people that we're having these combos with are like the ones you should be doing that with.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you coming on, but I do want to open the floor for you, because you do have so much to offer. So is there any other thing you want to get off? I know you've said nothing but value, but is there anything else so I don't cut you short?
Goodness gracious, we talked about so much. Just take everything day by day. Literally take everything moment by moment. Even breathe intentionally, take deep breaths often, move your body, eat foods that are going to just empower you, but also just give you a clear mind, heart space, creativity.
What's heart space?
Heart space is essentially you're giving, that's like the giving aspect of everyone. Like, why do you do it? Not just giving to, because you're going to receive back, but it's like, I'm giving this because I know it's genuinely going to, rest on someone else's heart space, and it's going to take them and they're going to do the same thing for someone else. And it's just ultimately wanting to see, it sounds so cliche, but I want to see everyone be great. I genuinely want to see everyone be great. And so if when you approach me, that doesn't happen, then I haven't done my job. I haven't done a good job of communicating who I am to you. Okay. And also just being in that presence as well. I walk into a room now, and sometimes it intimidates me myself. People are like, "Oh, Jonae's here. Here's the vegan. There's a plant-based." I'm like, "Stop!" But I'm like, "No, you're a light to people," and I have to be more accepting of that. So
yeah, because sometimes even now, I don't want all those compliments. But
it's
nice things. It's not like, no, that person's
like how you mentioned bougie. I was like, no, you are bougie. That's a statement. Like you stand on that.
Yeah, so, it is actually a better way to live. That's true.
Absolutely. Because we're high quality people. And that's it. It's that simple. And for other people to see that in us and also want to live that like example, or lead us living by example, but then they see that in us and want to do the same thing. That's man.
Or at least respect it. Because there's a lot of people that won't make changes, but
for sure,
as long as they're not, I think, trying to cloud you from what you're doing, I think it's cool. Because they may not change their diet or they may not change how they speak, but they do change how they interact with you. And that's really all that matters, because you don't have to control 60 things.
Right.
So this small period of your time with one person or whoever, if it's beneficial, it's better in the long run. I don't know. It's hard to think of because you always want to think complete. But
I know.
It's only in those moments.
Especially as a woman, we want to heal everybody and everything. But it's like, no. And I'm so appreciative of you asking me who heals me. Like that was like you so right. Besides yourself. And I'm like, because I've always been that person for other people. Like, I literally grew up as not even a teenager. I was barely 11, and I was watching 3 kids that were underneath the ages of 6. One was a 6-month-old. They were my cousins, but I was taking care of them.
Yeah, 11 years old is crazy.
And so when I told my family, they're like, but your sister, I'm like, they didn't ask my sister, they asked me. So it's like, I've always been that, for lack of a better term, like that motherly figure for other people.
That's what you sense, though.
Yeah.
Even when I first met you, you could feel it. And then you're nice to everyone. Yeah. But that's the energy you gave me was like, for me, since we're close in age, it would be more like auntie vibes than mom. But that's what I felt is like love.
Absolutely.
Like, no, she's looking out for me and we don't know each other.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you, our journey together was the most easiest journey I've ever had.
I was happy.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, no, I was telling my seller, I was like, no, I know her. I met her. I was like, this will be cool. And it was so easy.
So easy.
But
so easy. And we claimed that from the beginning. Now, every time I see your name, I'm like, oh, that's easy. Whoever gets in the house is going to be a beautiful transaction for them.
I try because there's like 4 or 5 steps in every transaction.
Of course.
And it's like, let's just get past these with like minimal confrontation.
Hiccups, yes.
I mean, the hiccups, the hurdles, like, okay, but the unnecessary emotion, that's what we don't need.
That part. I'm glad you mentioned that part, because that's the tough part as far as like being a woman and things like that, because you want to respond emotionally. But that's why I'm typically like, okay, I'm going to meet you where you are. I'm going to hang up right now. I'm going to let you breathe. And I won't hang up on an agent's face quick. If they're yelling at me, I had an agent yelling at me, and I was like, yeah, no. And they called it, I'm sorry. I said, I know you were, but it's okay. I had to let you have your moment.
At least you can say, okay, it's all right, because I'd be like, what? Because there's been plenty of times it's been like that, but it's funny how they switch. Mm-hmm. And I used to think you had to, fight anger with anger, fire with fire.
Absolutely.
But when someone freaks out and you're like, hey, but by the way, like, we're going to do this. This is the only way to get through it, but feel how you want to, in better terms, it does help progress. And yes, that's big in real estate, but that's why I want to talk to people like yourself, because it's not just in real estate, it's in life too. When you have a bad interaction, to one, take it as a lesson, but also not sit on it, like be mad all day because that guy cut you off. Like, I've been so much quicker about releasing that than I ever was.
Say that again. Yes.
You used to want to hold on to it or be mad for like 2 days. Yeah. Like, what? That seems hard work.
Absolutely. That's harder work. Just let it go. Just, and we're done. Like, that's it.
Well, thank you for your time. And hopefully we'll do one with your mom on here. That'd be cool.
We'll be both in here giggling, so I hope you're ready for this.
But we'll have to do more, because that's why I wanted to pick your brain, because I knew you were going to tell me a lot about real estate, but you're also going to teach me a lot, not only on the health side, but for me, what I get from you is how to mentally navigate life and business and stay on course, because I need a lot of guidance.
Absolutely.
So I always laugh that I'm feeling selfish in these podcasts, because they're things that really benefit me. I do very well with women-led progress for myself. And I think that's because I grew up in a women household.
You say it a little bit louder.
I'm giving you too much.
Gracious.
But it seems to be the way I learned better.
Yeah.
But that's how you grew up. But I appreciate you. We'll get you in here again. Thank you all. We're out.